This is Dr. Ravindra, Anthropology faculty in Analog IAS. I have been teaching anthropology from the past 16 years and I am one of the national toppers in UPSC exam in anthropology optional. I got 356 marks in the 2010 exam. I am basically a doctor by profession. Out of interest I became the faculty. In this orientation, in this orientation session, let us discuss importance of optional and how to choose an optional, anthropology as an optional, and do we need coaching for the anthropology optional or not, and what are the specialties of our institute anthropology coaching, and finally we will discuss anthropology, what is meant by anthropology and what is the subject content of anthropology. Many people might have heard that anthropology is the most successful optional, very popular option. But the term, the meaning of the term may not be known to you. Majority of the people, if you consider history, you can easily understand. Sociology, study of society. Anthropology means study of society only. Once upon a time, anthropology was a branch of sociology. In due course of time, it got its own recognition and a separate subject was emerged. And that's why in anthropology also we will study the society. But along with the society, we will study evolution of man. Anthropology is nothing but evolution of man and his culture. How man has evolved. During the process of evolution of human beings, culture also evolved simultaneously. How culture came into existence. Why? Because culture is going to influence the way of living. Culture is nothing but the way of living. All our systems, whether political systems or economic systems, are in tune with our biological systems and in tune with our culture only. That's why in anthropology we will study evolution of man and his culture. That is the meaning. Now let us discuss what is the importance of optional in tune with our biological systems. You may be knowing the scheme of examination of civil services. That's why in anthropology we study evolution of man and his culture. In our exam, total 3 steps will be. Now let us discuss what is the importance of optional in tune with our biological systems. You may be knowing in that examination. After that, that's why in examination you have to write descriptive answers, and after that you will be, if you write well, you will be called for interview, and the marks obtained by you in the mains examination and in the interview will be considered for preparing merit list, accordingly service. Now in the mains examination, total mains examination will be held in total for 1750 marks. One general essay paper will be there. That paper carries 250 marks. Of course, in that paper you have to write 2 general essays, total 250 marks. And in GS 4 papers will be there, each paper carries 250 marks, total 1000 marks. You have to select one of the options prescribed by UPSC, and in our optional 2 papers will be there, each paper carries 250 marks, total 500 marks, total 1750 marks. And if you are there in the well written candidates, then you will be called for interview. Based on the reservation, based on the merit, you will be called for interview. Interview will be held for 275 marks. The marks obtained by you in the mains examination and in the interview will be considered for giving you a rank, accordingly service. Now general essay paper is common for everyone, same question paper will be there. General studies papers are common for everyone, same question papers will be there, but optional it is not so. Different people opt for different optionals. Depending upon the optionals chosen by us, our rank will be decided, our future will be decided. Here nowadays you have to select only one optional. Before 2011 you have to select only you have to select 2 optionals. Then people face a number of problems. Selecting one optional is easy, but 2 options is a different thing. Because of wrong selection of optionals, many people they fail to clear the examination. In the remaining aspects they got very good marks, national toppers, but in the second optional not so. Many people are there. One of my roommates and friends, he worked as a DRDO scientist, and because of his background he opted for mathematics option, mathematics and geography. He wrote very well in all the subjects, but only because of wrong selection of optional In the optional he got 70, 80, 100 in different attempts. That's why his career was spoiled. A number of people are there, including me also. Because of my medical background, I opted for zoology as an optional apart from anthropology. In anthropology, I got 356 marks. In zoology, I got only 220 marks. In spite of that, I got interview call. Why? Because in general studies, in general essay, and in anthropology optional, I am in the top 10. But only because of second optional, my career was ruined. That's why we have to select carefully optional. At the time of selecting the optional, we have to be very, very careful. See, with respect to civil services examination, here we have to go along with the flow. We have to go by the trend. We should not think innovatively here. This is based on our experience. We are not here to convince you. We are not here to motivate you to take anthropology as an option. It's not so. Here, experience matters. Based on the experience, if you can avoid the mistakes, automatically you will get very good marks. Accordingly, you will get very good success in the examination. Just clearing the exam is also of no use. If you get a lower grade service, it is of no use. Top cream services, IAS, IPS, IRS, like this, if you get such services, then there will be satisfaction. Other services you may or may not get satisfaction. If you get lower services, you may be posted in Andaman Nicobar Islands, like that. That's why here we have to clear the exam, that too with good marks. Then only satisfaction will be there and desired services can be obtained. So at the time of selecting the optionals, we have to be careful. Many people, because of their background, one of my friends, my senior also, he opted for medical science as an optional because of medical background. In medical science, he got only 150. In the remaining optionals in general studies, he got good marks. His career was spoiled. Like this, here at the time of selecting this optional plays a very, very important role. Why? Because here the question papers are not uniform. It depends upon the optional chosen by us. That's why if you do not choose the optional properly, then the chances of failure are very, very high. You have to go by the trend. If you commonly opt optionals, the chances of success are very, very high. If you opt for rare optionals, the chances of success are very, very rare. This is based on our experience only. See, our background, our intelligence, all these things are not going to matter. 2 years back, one student got a third rank, Uma Harti. She got third rank. She wrote a UPSC exam with geography as an optional for 4 attempts. In the 5th attempt, she realized. She changed the optional. Immediately, she cleared the exam. That too with the top marks, top 3. Until then, she did not clear the exam at all. She did not get interview call also. Many students are there. Many students in the last attempt, they changed the optional and they cleared the exam. Why? Because in anthropology, entire second paper is nothing but general studies. Even if you do not take anthropology as an optional, in general studies you have to read Indian society, caste system, social change, villages, Panchayat Raj institutions, media, social change, impact of media on the society, tribal people, industrialization, urbanization, displacement, regional conflicts, ethnic conflicts, like this, and constitution also. We are going to study constitution also. In the second paper, with regard to tribals, will study in detail. What are the protective provisions that are there in the constitution? What are the fundamental rights? What are the directive principles? And what are the special provisions for tribals? What are the special provisions for SCs? What are the special provisions for OBCs? Like this, we are going to study a number of things which are there already in our general studies. That's why here you are going to, the burden on you, that means on your mind, will be very, very less. You can acquire mastery over the syllabus very easily. If within a span of 2 months, you can acquire the mastery over the syllabus, provided you have good command in the general studies. Otherwise, if you study along with general studies, in 4 months you can acquire the mastery over anthropology optional. That Uma Harti or many other people who have been preparing for the examination from the past 4 or 5 years, because of their well acquaintance with the general studies optional, they prepared anthropology within 2 months. Why? Because entire second paper is part and parcel of general studies. Only first paper they have to read. And in the first paper also many things are easy except anthropological theories. Thought will be there. in many subjects, if you consider political science, in political science also that political thought will be there by different thinkers. In public administration, like this, certain experts and theories will be there, except that part remaining things you can easily understand about our society only, marriage, family, kinship, all those things. That's why at the time of selecting the optional we have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, the chances of success are very, very less, and at the same time our careers, the futures will be spoiled. Just see that Umaharati case, she wasted 4 years because of opting for, because of this geography option. She opted for geography, 4 years she wasted the time. And in the future, even if you selected, in the future the chances of promotion, the chance of reaching the higher cadre. If you become an IAS officer at the age of 35 years, the chance of becoming chief secretary will be less. If you become IAS officer at the age of 25 years, you can reach the highest position in the bureaucracy, chief secretary. Chief secretary means head of all the departments. He is the administrative head. See, in the administration, political head is nothing but the concerned leaders. At the state level, Chief Minister, Council of Ministers; at the central level, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. But administration will be carried out by these principal secretaries and chief secretaries. For every department, one head will be there. For the administration, he is nothing but principal secretary. The head of all the principal secretaries is nothing but chief secretaries. If you are selected at the age of 21 years or 25 years or 26 years, then you can reach, because of more service span, you can reach the highest position. IAS officer అందరూ మన ఇంటి ముందే ఉంటారు. Why? Because we are going to become the head of all the IAS officers. That's why avoiding wastage of time, avoiding number of attempts, more number of attempts to clear the examination is also very, very important. That's why here you have to go by the flow, you have to go by the trend. That's why at the time of choosing the optional, if you are not careful, the chances of clearing the exam will be affected, and at the same time the chance of promotion, the chance of reaching higher position in the bureaucracy will be affected. And interview is common for everyone. That's why the only difference among all the students is selection of optional. If you select the optional carefully, the chance of success are very, very high. If you select the rare optional, the chance of success are rare. This is true. Now let us discuss how to choose an optional. At the time of selecting the optional, you have to consider quantity of the syllabus. Syllabus ఎంత ఉంది అది ఇంపార్టెంట్ మనకు. A subject with a small syllabus, small quantity of syllabus can be prepared within a short span of time. If the subject is so voluminous, then it takes a lot of time. That's why quantity of the syllabus, that is the first factor that we have to consider. Second one is recent trends in the examination. We have to consider recent trends. What is the successful optional, what is the popular optional, that thing we have to consider. After that, in the past 10 years in the examination, what type of questions are being asked. See, in our syllabus can be divided into two varieties, static syllabus and dynamic syllabus. Static syllabus means they will never change. Dynamic means depending upon the current affairs, depending upon the current events, it will be changed. Say for example, a role of judiciary. The judiciary, its role is changing gradually over a period of time, and they are interpreting the constitution in different ways. That's why if you opt public administration or political science, you have to be updated regularly. You have to go through newspaper, you have to go through different opinions, different analysis by different experts. That's why here we have to consider whether a particular subject is a dynamic or static, or in a particular optional in the past 10 years, how many questions are asked from static content, how many questions are asked from dynamic content. Say for example, the question is from dynamic content, then in the examination hall you have to think, you have to frame the answer, you have to prepare one proper structure, you have to frame the answer, you have to channelize the answer. But if the question is from static content, then we can predict the questions, we can have ready-made answers. During the process of our preparation to each and every topic, we prepare the notes, we can have structured answer, what to be given as an introduction, and what should be the body of the answer, what should be the conclusion. Like that, if the majority of the questions are from the static content, we can have ready-made answers. We can give the good answers with beautiful structure, so that we can impress the examiner, so that we can get more marks. and at the same time we can avoid the wastage of time in the examination. Why? Because whenever we come across a new question, then we will think, see how to write introduction, how many points have to be mentioned, then in what form the answer has to be channeled, in the form of points, in the form of subheadings, in the form of flow chart, in the form of diagram, then we have to think, and finally we have to give conclusion. Then time will be wasted. In anthropology optional, in the remaining optionals also same situation, you have to write answers to 19 questions in the optional. See, if say for example, if 20 questions or 15 questions are from dynamic content, then minimum 15 minutes of time will be wasted. Even the examiners also know that 3 hours of time is not sufficient to write answers to all the questions, but they will give question paper like that only. Why? Because they want those students who have subject on the fingertips, so that without thinking they can write answers in the examination hall. If you give more number of hours, that means if you give more time, then anyone can get more marks. That's why they deliberately give question papers in such a manner. That's why in such circumstances, avoiding wastage of time in preparing the structure for the answer, that's why in such circumstances we have to avoid dynamic questions. Why? Because if the dynamic questions are given, if you want to attempt those questions, then your time will be wasted in deciding the proper structure for that answer. That's why we have to consider what should be the how many questions are being asked from static content, how many questions are being asked from dynamic content. Consider public administration. The name itself indicates it's about administration. In administration, number of changes will be going on. Every day in the administration, number of changes are going on. That's why they give questions, complicated questions. In public administration, sometimes questions will be four sentences, 5 sentences, like that. A lengthy question will be there. By the time we read that question, 1 minute or 2 minutes of time will be over. Ultimately, we have to write 19 questions, 19 minutes of time. Wastage of 19 minutes of time in the examination is going to affect our success. That is in one paper only. We have 2 optional papers. Like this, and in total, even in GS also, we have to be careful. We have to avoid the wastage of time there itself in the examination hall by thinking about the structure of the answer. That's why this factor has to be considered very well. How many questions are being asked from the static content, how many questions are being asked from dynamic content. Second one is whether it is static or dynamic syllabus. We have to consider another dimension, whether the question is asked directly or indirectly. So direct question means based on the contents which are there in our syllabus, one question will be asked. Sometimes they will not mention the topic also, but they will give one indirect statement, based on that they will ask. Say for example, I will tell you one question. Purusharthas. The term may be new, I will tell you what is meant by Purusharthas. You might have heard about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. As we are the members of Indian society, definitely at one point of time in our life we will come across these terms, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You know what is meant by Dharma, what is meant by Kama, what is meant by Moksha. Artha means money, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You know. That's why even if you read on your own, you can understand what is Dharma, what is Artha, what is Kama, what is Moksha. You can write, even in the examination also, you have to write about those 4 points. What is meant by Purusharthas, what are those Purusharthas, and what is the significance of those Purusharthas. But sometimes questions may be asked. I'll tell you one question. Our Hindu philosophical system has different concepts which obviated the need for organizing, which obviated the need for having organized policing system. In the olden days, this type of policing system was not there, organized policing system was not there, CC cameras were not there, but crime rate was low in the olden days. Now it is more. Am I correct or not? Crime rate, nowadays we are not able to trust even our neighbors also. ఈ రోజుల్లో మనం ఎవరిని నమ్మలేము. మీ ఫ్రెండ్కే, దట్ మీన్స్ మీ క్లాస్లో రీసెంట్గా పరిచయమైన ఫ్రెండ్ ఎవరంటే ₹1,00,000 ఇచ్చి ఒక వారం తర్వాత తీసుకుంటాను ధైర్యంగా కూడా చెప్పలేము. Nowadays, here, even though we have organizing policing system, the crime rate is more. But in the olden days, the crime rate was less. Why? Why? Because it is because of proper socialization. During the process of socialization is nothing but learning the norms and customs of the society in the process of growth. During the process of socialization, certain values are strongly inculcated in our mind. That's why our behavior will be in controlled manner. That's why here our Hindu philosophical system has number of concepts, not only Purusharthas but also many other concepts. Because of those concepts, in the olden days, in the traditional Indian society, the crime rate was less. Whenever you have very good understanding of all those concepts, from different concepts you have to pick up certain points and you have to write answer there. It may take a lot of time also. You have to think how many points have to be written from one concept, how many points have to be written from second concept, how many points have to be written from the third concept, like that we have to think. That is why here we have to consider whether the questions are being asked directly or indirectly. If the questions are direct, we will have ready-made answers. In the process of our preparation itself, we will study different concepts and direct answers we can give. That is why we have to consider how many questions are direct questions and how many questions are indirect questions. We have to go through the previous year question papers, at least 5 years. Generally, we will advise the students to go through the previous year question papers for about 10 years. But nowadays they are frequently changing the trends. Even for 2 years also, sometimes they are changing the question papers. That means trends. That's why here we have to go through at least the past 5 years, the trend in the past 5 years in the question paper pattern. How many questions are from static content? How many questions are from dynamic content? How many questions are direct questions? How many questions are indirect questions? After that, we have to consider availability of coaching. See, even without coaching also we can clear the exam. Nowadays YouTube is available and many other sources are available. But time is very, very important here. Number of attempts are limited. And at the same time, nowadays, don't think otherwise, UPSC, instead of calling it as a Union Public Service Commission, it can be called as Unpredictable Public Service Commission. See, in the prelims examination, they are asking questions in such a manner that it's not easy to answer those questions. It is basically a filtering process. During the process of preparation in our days, prelims was easy, mains was difficult. Nowadays it is not so. Prelims has become highly unpredictable. We don't know from which corner they are asking questions. And that too, the trend was different. In the olden days, the questions were direct questions or sometimes indirect questions will be there. Nowadays it is not so. They are giving 4 statements, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the below they are giving options, 1, 2, 3 correct, 2, 3, 4 correct, 1, 3, 4 correct, 1, 2, 3 correct, like that. And from the past 2 years again the trend was changed. They started giving 4 questions, 4 statements, and without mentioning the number of the number of that statement, simply they are asking 2 of the above statements are correct, 3 of the above statements are correct, only 1 statement is correct. Previously our people, students are also very intelligent. They are eliminating the probabilities, wrong answer probabilities. That's why they are also changing the trend. And even if they see our orientation session, again they may change the trend. UPSC can be better called as Unpredictable Public Service Commission. That's why we must have proper guide so that we can avoid the mistakes. Here we have the number of attempts are limited, and sometimes some students, by the time they realize to become one civil servant and to prepare for civil services exam, their age may be 25, 30, like that. That's why number of attempts are important, number of attempts are limited, and at the same time, even if we clear prelims examination this year, next year it is not guaranteed. Why? Because the prelims papers, they are setting prelims papers in such a manner. If you lose the exam at any stage, even at interview level, again you have to write from the beginning, prelims, mains and interview. And there are many IAS officers also. Of course, in the later attempts they become IAS officers. In one attempt they went up to interview, and the interview will be held generally in the month of April, May, and the prelims examination will also be in the same month. That's why they may not focus on the prelims examination. Again they may lose in the prelims examination. Again they have to wait for another exam. All the students are not going to clear the interview. Only 50% are going to clear the interview. That's why those people who went up to interview also, they failed to clear the prelims examination in the next attempt. That's why we have to be very careful. We have to avoid failures. To avoid the failures, guidance by a senior, guidance by an expert is very, very important. Even we can prepare on our own, but it takes time. By the time you acquire mastery over that particular subject, your number of attempts may be exhausted. All these are in proposal stage only. We came across this type of rumors from 2009 when I was preparing for civil services examination. But it takes time. They will give 2 years advance notice. Don't worry. Okay. From 2009, I came across a number of rumors. Even Basavan committee recommended actually, but even after government did not accept all the recommendations. Actually, one recommendation was recently implemented. Those people who failed to clear the interview, they got interview call, but they were not there in the final selected list. For those people who attended the interview but not service, those people will be given the committee recommended one certificate, but here they created one scheme, Pratibha Setu. Under that Pratibha Setu, these students who went up to interview but not clear the examination, their names and their details will be kept in the public domain, and the employers can approach the UPSC by registering with the UPSC, and they can select those people. Understand? Pratibha Setu, you can go through newspaper. Recently it was launched 1 week back, I think. Interview పోయి ఉంటారు చాలా మంది, because of reservation or because of some other probabilities, they may not be in a position to clear the examination. That's why to provide an opportunity to such people, the government has created such type of mechanism. Pardon? So certification is not there so far. When Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister, he advocated awarding one MBA degree also, but it was not accepted. It depends upon discretion of private players, that's it, employers.
For now, I think that IAS will be shared to the companies that register.
That's what I have been telling. Public domain means that will be there, and the employers have to register first of all, and they will go through your DIF, and if they are impressed with your DIF, they will hire you. That's it. And availability of coaching is very, very important, so that we will get proper guidance, and we can avoid the wastage of time, and at the same time availability of material is also very, very important. Say for example, if you want to prepare the exam with mechanical engineering, availability of material in tune with UPSC standards, not possible. Medical science, not possible. That's why availability of material is also very, very important. And after that, availability of post-coaching support. Even after the completion of coaching, there must be one person to guide you. You have to carry out answer writing practice. At the time of answer writing practice, you may commit number of mistakes with respect to subject, with respect to presentation of answer, with respect to understanding of the questions. That's why here availability of post-coaching support, that means availability of this mentorship, availability of test series, all these things are also very, very important. And suitability of our personality to the with respect to the concerned optional, that means our interest. Say for example, if you hate biology, if you take anthropology as optional, you are not going to clear the exam. Why? Because here DNA will be there, nucleus will be there, cells will be there, we are going to study evolution like that. That's why your interest, your personality is also very, very important. Some people, they may have more interest in political affairs, administration. Some people, they have more interest in international relations. That's why our personality, our interest in different domains, that is also very, very important. See, generally we advise the students to go by flow, and at the same time your interest is very, very important. Without your interest, it is not possible to acquire mastery over the subject. And finally, these are the components that we have to consider. First one is quantity of the syllabus, second one is recent trends in the examination, after that availability of coaching, availability of material, availability of post-coaching support, and suitability of our personality and our interest in a particular subject. And anthropology as an optional. What are the advantages of anthropology? See, here we have to analyze based on these criteria. These are the criteria which are given by different students who were selected. These are the criteria which were given by the seniors or experts who are there in this field. నాకు నోటికొచ్చి నేను చెప్పట్లేదండి, మీరు యూట్యూబ్లోకి పోయి రీసెంట్గా సెలెక్ట్ అయిన ఎవరిని అవి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ ఉంటాయి కదా, వాళ్ళు చూస్తే వాళ్ళు కూడా ఇవే చెప్పుంటారు. ఓకే, నౌ వీ హ్యావ్ టు అనలైజ్ టు వాట్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ our anthropology is suitable as an optional. The size of the syllabus is very less. Second one is recent trends in the examination. 80% of the questions are from the static content, and 10% questions are dynamic and current affairs based questions, and some are direct and some are indirect questions. But 80% of the questions are static questions. That's why that is one advantage. For anthropology, coaching is available everywhere nowadays. Available material, almost the same type of material you can obtain in almost all the coaching centers. There was one person by name Reddy, and he started anthropology, and he made Hyderabad as a popular for anthropology. Even today also, many, whoever may be the faculty, whether it is me or some other faculty, in all their notes his content will be there. His material you can get in the Xerox shop, but it is outdated. But whatever the content that is there, static content, that is being copied by almost all the faculties. But physical anthropology, we don't have material from Reddy. And for physical anthropology and tribal India, there is one component, tribal India, about the tribals, that is the dynamic aspect, and we have to go through current affairs. That's why material is available, and at the same time available to post coaching support. Test series is available, mentorship is available everywhere, in Hyderabad, Delhi, everywhere. And finally, suitable to our personality. In order to assess whether our personality suits to this anthropology optional, we should know what is the subject content of anthropology. If you know the subject content of anthropology, then you can come to one conclusion whether that subject is interesting or not, based on your personality, based on your preferences. This way, let us discuss. Already we have discussed what is meant by anthropology. Let us discuss the anthropology syllabus. In anthropology syllabus, we have two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1, we have two components, socio-cultural anthropology and physical anthropology. In socio-cultural anthropology, we will study socio-cultural aspects. Socio-cultural aspects means introduction will be there, of course, and we will study marriage, family, kinship. Kinship means relations. Marriage, family, kinship. What are the different types of marriages, and what are the different types of marriage payments, and what are the different rules that govern the marriages, and how the marriages are being regulated. Like this, we are going to study different socio-cultural aspects. We will study in detail, wait for some time. After that, physical anthropology. Here, we will study evolution of man and culture from the biological perspective. Here, in our society, we evolved different varieties of cultural systems, marriage, family, kinship, economic systems, political system, all those things based on our biology. Our biology has some limitations. If there is no AC, and if it is summer, can you wear the jerkin and attend the class? In summer, can you wear the jerkin? No. Why? Because our body has a particular temperature. Accordingly, we are having dress patterns. In summer, we will follow one type of dress patterns. In winter, we will follow another type of dress patterns. And marriage. Why marriage is there in every society? In every society, marriage is there. Sexual gratification. For the sake of competition for a female, people started killing each other also. We have number of examples in the history. Dynasties were collapsed for the sake of females. ఆడదాని కోసం రాజ్యాలు ఎక్కువైపోయి అంటుంటారు కదా. సో why we are developing attraction towards the opposite sex? It is because of our biological makeup. Some sex hormones are being released. Because of those sex hormones, we are getting attraction towards the opposite sex. That's why here, in order to understand our society comprehensively, you have to understand the biology also. Why? Because based on our biological limitations, we have developed different varieties of cultural practices, whether it is marriage or any other practice. We will discuss different practices. We will discuss at a later point of time when we discuss the syllabus in detail. We will study physical anthropology. In physical anthropology, we will study what is the biological base of life, how man has evolved, and how culture has evolved. We will study in detail. Here itself I will tell you an example. Generally, after the marriage, most of the times there will be clash between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. అత్త కోళ్ళ మధ్య పడుతుంది ఎప్పుడైనా గొడవ, అవునా కదా? అండ్ ఇన్ జాయింట్ ఫ్యామిలీస్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది టైమ్స్ హూ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు సఫర్? అటుపక్క అమ్మ, ఇటుపక్క భార్య, ఇద్దరి మధ్య నలిగిపోయేది ఎవడు? భర్త, అవునా? అది కొడుకు అలియాస్ భర్త, అవునా కదా? సి జనరల్లీ by the time of marriage of the son, the parents will be at around 45 to 50 or 55 years of age. అంతే కదా, మనం 20 సంవత్సరాలకి లేదా సివిల్ సర్వీసెస్ ప్రిపేర్ అయితే 30 సంవత్సరాలకు 32 సంవత్సరాలకు పెళ్లి చేసుకుంటే ఆ టైంకి మన పేరెంట్స్ ఏజ్ ఎంత ఉంటుంది? 55 ఎంత ఉంటుంది. బై దట్ టైమ్ certain biological changes take place in the body of every human being. The taste buds on the tongue will decrease in size. They cannot perceive all the taste sensations. టేస్ట్ బడ్స్ చిన్నగా అయిపోయి వాళ్ళకి అన్ని టేస్ట్లు తెలియవు, తెలిసినా కూడా అంత అనిపించదు. సాల్ట్ ఉందనుకోండి, నాకు కరెక్ట్గా ఉంటే మా అమ్మకి తక్కువ ఉంది అనిపించవచ్చు. ఎందుకు? అవి అట్రఫీ అయిపోయి ఉంటుంది. దే డిక్రీజ్ ఇన్ సైజ్, దట్స్ వై దే కెనాట్ ఫీల్ ద టేస్ట్ సెన్సేషన్. నాకు సాల్ట్ ఎక్కువైనట్టు అనిపిస్తే మా అమ్మకి బాగుంది అనిపించవచ్చు. వీ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్. ఇక్కడ ప్రాబ్లమ్ స్టార్ట్ అయితే ఇక్కడనే. వెన్ ఎవర్ దిస్ డాటర్ ఇన్ లా కుక్స్ ఫుడ్, husband appreciate, whether it is good or bad, husband has to appreciate, he appreciates, but mother-in-law may not appreciate. Sometimes she may give some suggestions. From there onwards that discontent will be developed, and one day it will be blasted, and finally we will be blasted. Am I correct or not? చివరికి వాళ్ళ మధ్య మనమంటే సర్దుకొని పోతాం, ఎట్లా ఉన్నా కూడా బాగుందనే చెప్పాలి వారికి, అప్పుడు మనకు కొద్దిగా ప్రశాంతత వస్తుంది. అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, భార్యాభర్తల మధ్య ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్లో గెలవడం కన్నా కూడా ప్రశాంతతే ఇంపార్టెంట్. అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. విల్ డిస్కస్ ఎట్ లేటర్ పాయింట్. ఇది తెలిస్తే వీ కెన్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ ఇట్ టు వైఫ్ యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ టు ది మదర్, సో దట్ టు సమ్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ ఎడ్యుకేటెడ్ దే విల్ అండర్స్టాండ్. See, this type of understanding, if you know this understanding, in the future you may avoid some problem. Am I correct or not? That's why in order to understand, the fight between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law is a common feature in our culture. Am I correct or not? Definitely. That's why in order to understand the culture, you have to know the biological limitations. And many other things are there, we will discuss at a later point of time. These are the two components in paper 1, socio-cultural anthropology and physical anthropology. And in second paper, we have two components, Indian society in general, and in Indian society we will study about the most backward section, that is nothing but tribals. Indian society and tribal India. Total 4 components are there in our syllabus: socio-cultural anthropology, physical anthropology, Indian society and tribal India. 4 components. Now let us discuss what is the subject content of socio-cultural anthropology. Actually, in the syllabus they have given 12 chapters. This type of division is not there anywhere, but based on the nature of the content, the experts have divided the subject like this: socio-cultural and physical anthropology. That type of demarcation was not there in the syllabus. Simply in the first paper they mentioned total 12 chapters. The first chapter deals with meaning, scope and development of anthropology. Introduction: meaning, scope and development of anthropology. What are the different branches of anthropology? We will study evolution of man, and his culture. In the first chapter itself, we will study meaning, scope and development of anthropology. What are the different, I think they have given syllabus papers to you. Total 12 chapters are there. The first chapter deals with introduction to anthropology, different branches of anthropology, and evolution of man and evolution of culture. Second chapter deals with marriage, family, and kinship. Marriage, family, and kinship. What is meant by marriage? What are the different types of marriages? And what are the different marriage rules, different laws, and what are the different marriage payments? Generally in our society we follow monogamy or polygamy. Most of the times monogamy, one husband or one wife. And in some cases two or more than two husbands, two or more than two wives will be there. In our society generally we can come across two or more than two wives. That is called polygyny, multiple wives. Polyandry, another case is there, multiple husbands. We can come across polyandry also. If you go to Uttarakhand you can come across, if you go to Assam you can come across, if you go to Meghalaya you can come across, if you go to Nilagiri hills you can come across polyandry, multiple husbands will be there. Sometimes a group will be there. One group of females will be there, one group of males will be there, group marriages will be there, and different varieties of marriages are there, and we will discuss all such varieties. They are very interesting, and marriage inevitably leads to the formation of family, and because of marriage relationship will be established. See, all our relatives can be divided into two sets: relatives who are related to us by blood and relatives who are related to us because of marriage. పెళ్లి తర్వాత కొత్త బంధువులు వస్తారు. That's why that totality of relationship based on marriage and based on birth. Birth means a blood relationship. That is called kinship. We'll study marriage, family, and kinship. After that, we'll study economic anthropology. Economic anthropology, political anthropology, religious anthropology. Third chapter deals with economic anthropology. Fourth chapter deals with political anthropology. Fifth chapter deals with religious anthropology. In economic anthropology, we'll study economy in the context of culture. In economics, we'll study economy. In economy, we'll study production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Whatever may be the topic that you take in economy, ultimately that is related to production, distribution, consumption of goods and services. ఏ టాపిక్ తీసుకున్నా మీ జనరల్ స్టడీస్ ఎకానమీలో ఉంటుంది కదా, అల్టిమేట్గా దట్ ఈస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ప్రొడక్షన్, డిస్ట్రిబ్యూషన్ అండ్ కన్జంప్షన్ ఆఫ్ గూడ్స్ అండ్ సర్వీసెస్. బ్యాంక్స్ తీసుకున్నా అనుకోండి, because of banks will get capital, that capital will be used for producing different varieties of goods and services. Agriculture, different goods will be produced. Industry, services sector, everything is related to, in economy, production, distribution, consumption of goods and services. But in economic anthropology, we will study production, distribution and consumption of goods and services in the context of our culture. In the context of our culture. మీకు అర్థమయ్యే రీతిలో సింపుల్గా చెప్పేస్తా వినండి. See, there are some students, for giving anthropology coaching, we charge some fees. It may be 40,000 or 30,000, 45,000, whatever it may be. But if there is my brother's son here, can I charge? నా సొంత అన్న కొడుకున్నా అనుకోండి, నేను వాడికి నువ్వు కట్టాల్సింది 40,000 అంటే కడతాడా? He has that right to attend my classes, to listen my classes. In fact, he can go out of my class also without any hesitation. బాబాయ్ ఏం కాదులే పోదాం అని అనుకుంటాడు లేదా? ఒకవేళ నేను కన్సెషన్ ఇవ్వలేదనుకోండి, లెట్ us assume, మా ఎవడైనా ఇవ్వకపోతే మా అన్న పట్టించుకోడు, సొంత తమ్ముడు అయ్యండి చూడు అసలు నా దగ్గర కూడా డబ్బులు తీసుకున్నా అంటారా లేదా? డెఫినెట్లీ, దట్ ఈస్ ట్రూ. దట్స్ వై హియర్ అవర్ రిలేషన్స్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్. Our culture is going to influence. Brothers and relatives are considered more important for us, and even sisters and relatives are also considered more important. But we'll have more what it's called, more affiliation with fathers and relatives, brothers and relatives, males and relatives. Of course, nowadays the trends are changing. The nature is changing. Nature of the society, trends are changing. పెళ్ళాం సైడ్కి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వకపోతే ఇంట్లో ప్రశాంతత ఉండదు, తిండి ఉండదు కదా. Sorry, whatever, generally our society is a patriarchal society. In our society, we will give more importance to male side relatives. That's why here how the culture is going to influence the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. We study what are the different varieties of economic systems, what are the different types of economic systems, how they evolved gradually over a period of time. Even we study the present situation also, displacement. Government is acquiring the land by citing public purpose as the reason. Government land acquisition చేస్తుంటది for the sake of different varieties of projects, especially hydroelectric projects, whether it is Polavaram or Kaleshwaram, whatever it may be. Whenever the government wants to construct one hydroelectric project, government has to acquire land, otherwise those areas, the construction of the project will become difficult. Why? Because the project is constructed, reservoir will be found, because of that reservoir the surrounding areas may be submerged. That's why we will displace those people by giving some compensation. We are going to study all those things. We will study economy in the context of a culture, how the cultural aspects are going to play an important role in the land acquisition also. We will discuss in detail. Political anthropology also. Even though based on the Western influence or whatever it may be, even though we have one constitution, one proper system for the election of representatives, our cultural sentiments are going to influence our political system and the representatives who are sent to the legislatures. See, we have one system based on the constitution, certain eligibility criteria are there, they have to contest the elections, and if they have proper support, they can become chief minister or prime minister, whatever it may be. We have one system, but we give more importance to our cultural sentiments. Whenever a particular leader becomes old, or whenever a particular popular leader dies, then his son will be declared as the next descendant. Am I correct or not? After the death of, see, entire history was like that. See, after the death of Nehru, Indira Gandhi, after the death of Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, now Priyanka Gandhi also. Now consider here our KCR's family. See, after KCR, who was considered as the next potential chief minister if TRS, that means BRS comes to power? KTR. Why not Kavita? Basically, our society is patriarchal society. We give more importance to sons. They are considered as our descendants. Similarly, if you go to Andhra Pradesh, there also, see, YS Rajshekar Reddy. Rajshekar Reddy has one daughter and one son. But who became chief minister? Who got the influence of this YS Rajshekar Reddy as inheritance? Jagan. Am I correct or not? People, they don't hesitate even to scold YS Sharmila when she opposed Jagannamohan Reddy. అవునా కదా? కుటుంబం పరువు తీసేసింది, అది ఇదని ఇంకా నంబర్ ఆఫ్ అన్పార్లమెంటరీ వర్డ్స్ కూడా వాడినారు. When they started, when she joined Congress party, who incorporated the name of YS Rajshekar Reddy in the charge sheet, then they got lot of angry. The local people, the Andhra people, they got lot of angry. జగన్ మీద కేసులు పెట్టారు కదా, ఆ కేసులో ఛార్జ్ షీట్లో చనిపోయిన వైఎస్ రాజశేఖర రెడ్డి పేరు కూడా పెట్టారు. చివరికి మళ్ళీ పోయి అదే పార్టీలో షర్మిల చేరేసరికి చాలామంది ఆయన కడుపున చెడగొట్టిందని కూడా పెట్టారు. Why? Because here the local sentiments are very, very important. That's why here we have to consider, we are going to study all those political systems, how the political system came into existence and how the cultural norms are influencing the political systems, our representatives, even the administration also. See, our political system is based on public opinion only. If you protest for bringing a particular policy by the government, then the government may withdraw that policy. You know, in 2000, in the second decade of, that means in 2011, I think, 2010-11, people protested against corruption under the leadership of Anna Hazare. Then Lokbal bill was passed. జనాలు ఎప్పుడైతే ప్రొటెస్ట్ చేశారో, then only the government, that means in the legislature, that bill was passed. It was, every time one bill was introduced in the parliament, it was not passed from 1960s. But finally in 2013 it was passed. Why? Because based on public opinion, people, the corruption has reached an intolerable level. That's why people started protesting. That means here we have one system. Whenever people, in India, we have high level of tolerance towards corruption. But at one point of time that has become intolerable, people started protesting. Accordingly, our political system was changed. This way, how the political systems evolved, what are the different norms and customs governing our political systems, how the justice will be delivered, what are the different laws. In modern society, how the law and justice will be delivered, and in the primitive societies, how the law and justice will be delivered. Based on the law, justice will be delivered. Even the courts deliver judgment based on the law. Am I correct or not? The laws were made by whom? Public representatives in the legislature. Public representatives, they are the representatives of the people. Based on the cultural sentiments of the people, they put one bill in the parliament or in the state legislative assembly. Accordingly, it will be passed. But even though we have one system, again we have parallel systems. People give more importance to settlement of disputes at the ground level. ఊర్లోనే పంచాయతీలు పెడతా ఉంటారు. మన కోర్టులకు పోతే అది 10 సంవత్సరాలు పడుతుందో 20 సంవత్సరాలు పడుతుందో తెలియదు. దట్టు కోర్టుకు కావాల్సింది ఎవిడెన్స్. But sometimes at the ground level people know, but evidence may not be there. They can deliver the judgment in the spot itself. పంచాయతీ లోకల్ పంచాయతీకి ఆ ఊర్లో ఒక పెద్ద చెట్టు ఉంటుంది, దాని కింద కూర్చొని జడ్జిమెంట్లు ఇస్తుంటారు. సినిమాలు కూడా వచ్చాయి, పెద్ద రాయుడు చిన్న రాయుడు రకరకాలు. దే గివ్ దేర్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ ది జడ్జిమెంట్. స్పీడీ జస్టిస్, ప్రాపర్ జస్టిస్. They have one law, unwritten law. What is that unwritten law? How they are going to deliver justice. We are going to study what are the unwritten laws, what are the written laws, and how they are going to deliver justice. Religious anthropology. Even religion is also part and parcel of our culture. We need not to explain. Religion, definitely everyone knows. If your religion is offended, definitely will get a lot of anger. Am I correct or not? Why? Because it is part and parcel of our culture, religion. And even economic systems, political systems, based on our sentiments only, they were designed. That's why whenever we study economy, polity or religion in the context of culture, then they will become different branches of anthropology. Economic anthropology, political anthropology, religious anthropology. Even language is also considered as part and parcel of our culture. Especially at the time of elections, when the national leaders, national level leaders, they come to our areas, they would like to introduce themselves with the regional language. Namaste, తెలంగాణ అంటే మోడీ డైలాగ్, అందరికీ నమస్తే అని చెప్పి తెలుగులో అంటారు. ది ఫస్ట్ అట్లీస్ట్ దే వుడ్ లైక్ టు ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ దెమ్సెల్వ్స్ విత్ ది తెలుగు వర్డ్స్ సో దట్ పీపుల్ డెవలప్ దట్ అఫెక్షన్. దట్స్ వై even the language is also considered as part and parcel of our culture. In the language, different varieties, how the language came into existence, what are the different theories on the origin of language, how the language use changes depending upon the context also. See, my language, as long as I am there in a particular institute, my language may be in one manner. But if I am there in my native place, that too in a field, my language may be different. ఊరికి పోయిన తర్వాత చిన్ననాటి ఫ్రెండ్స్ అందరు కలిసి ఆ పొలంలో చిన్న పార్టీ చేసుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, అక్కడ మాట్లాడే మాటలు అన్నీ డిఫరెంట్గా ఉంటాయి. డెఫినెట్లీ లాంగ్వేజ్ యూస్ చేంజెస్ డిపెండింగ్ అపాన్ ది కంటెక్స్ట్. ఈవెన్ హియర్ ఆల్సో ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఆర్ గర్ల్స్, డెఫినెట్లీ ది వే ఆఫ్ యువర్ స్పీచ్ విల్ బి చేంజ్డ్. అమ్మాయి ఉంటే ఒకలా మాట్లాడతాం, అమ్మాయి లేకపోతే ఒకలా మాట్లాడతాం. ఏమై కరెక్ట్ అన్నమాట. ఇఫ్ సీసీ కెమెరా ఈస్ దేర్, యువర్ బిహేవియర్ విల్ బి ఇన్ వన్ మేనర్, అండ్ ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ దేర్, if it is there, your behavior in one manner. If it is not there, your behavior will be in another manner. సీసీ కెమెరాలు ఉన్నాయనుకుంటే వచ్చి ప్రశాంతంగా కూర్చుంటారు అంతే. అవి లేవనుకుంటే రకరకాల బిహేవియర్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఎస్పెషల్లీ కాలేజ్ లెవెల్, కోచింగ్ సెంటర్ ఉండకపోయినా కాలేజ్ లెవెల్ అయితే అమ్మాయిలకు సైట్ కొట్టడం కానీ ఇంకా రకరకాలు అన్నీ ఉంటాయి. దట్ మీన్స్ వెన్ ఎవర్ సమ్వన్ ఈజ్ అబ్జర్వింగ్, అవర్ బిహేవియర్ విల్ బి చేంజ్డ్. హౌ ది లాంగ్వేజ్ విల్ బి చేంజ్డ్ డిపెండింగ్ అపాన్ ది కంటెక్స్ట్ విల్ స్టడీ. That is there in our syllabus as a 7th chapter, language. Syllabus was prepared haphazardly, but these are the main components of our culture: marriage, family, kinship, economy, polity, religion and language. And actually 6th chapter is there, I will tell you, wait for some time. And 8th chapter deals with research methods. There are different varieties of marriages. How we came to know about all these varieties of marriages? So group marriages, one group of males will be married to another group of males, and one husband, multiple wives, one wife, multiple husbands, sometimes different other combinations will be there. How we came to know about all these things? It is because of research conducted by some రీసెర్చర్స్. కొంతమంది నీలగిరి హిల్స్కి పోయి అక్కడ స్టడీ చేసి వచ్చారు, కొంతమంది ఉత్తరాఖండ్ పోయి అక్కడ స్టడీ చేసి వచ్చారు, కొంతమంది మేఘాలయ పోయి అక్కడ పోయి స్టడీ చేసి వచ్చారు. Because of their research we came to know about different economic systems, political system, different religions, marriage, family, kinship, all those things. But at the time of conducting research, these researchers have to be careful, otherwise mistakes may be there. If they do not understand the society properly, their interpretation will be wrong, then automatically will get wrong interpretation. Say for example, if an American comes to India to know about people's behavior at the time of elections, if he relies only on Enadu newspaper, he will get one type of interpretation. At the time of carrying out research, we will rely on different sources. We rely on media, we rely on textbooks, we rely on government reports, we rely on interviews, like the different ways will be there. If that American researcher relies only on Enadu newspaper, then he will get one type of interpretation. If he relies on only on Sakshi paper, he gets another type of interpretation. Am I correct or not? Why? Because there the intention of the media is different. If you consider Enadu, they want to project always Jagan Mohan Reddy as a bad person, and vice versa. That means in the Sakshi, they want to project YSR party as a good party and the Telugu party as bad party. Why? Because their intentions are different. That's why the information given by them is continuously changing. Even some of the national papers are also biased. You know, the Hindu also is biased towards the Congress government, UPA government. Like this, here at the time of conducting research, there are chances for errors, there are chances for bias. That's why we have to avoid the bias. What are the precautions that are to be taken in order to avoid these errors, and what are the different varieties of methods adopted by them, what are the different varieties of tools adopted by them, we will study in the 8th chapter. Now during the process of their research, they got lot of experience. Based on their experience, they started formulating different varieties of theories. Generally we used to tell, previously I have given some criteria how to choose an optional. That was not mentioned in UPSC website or any other place, but based on our experience. They may be correct, may not be correct. ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్పింది 100% కరెక్ట్ అంటే ఒక్కోసారి కాకపోవచ్చు. ఒక్కోసారి ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ ఆప్షన్లో టాప్లో రావచ్చు, ఒక్కోసారి క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ డిఫికల్ట్ ఉంటే రాకపోవచ్చు. నేను చెప్పింది 100% కరెక్ట్ అయితే అందరూ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ తీసుకోవాలి. ఏమి కరెక్ట్ అన్నమాట. Based on our experience, we'll come to one conclusions, and those conclusions may be correct, may not be correct. Most of the times based on experience we'll give some reasons, may be correct. Sometimes our experience may prove to be wrong. Say for example, we used to advise many students to not to attempt the exam until they complete the preparation. Some people, they want to write exam even though they have not completed the preparation, just for the sake of experience. కొంతమంది ఏంటంటే, when we were writing exam only 4 attempts were there. Now even for OC also 6 attempts. SCs, STs unlimited. OBCs 9 attempts are there. But some people, they used to write only for the sake of experience. Sir, రాసి చూద్దామని. If you want to have such type of experience, you can get a question paper online after the completion of exam. You can attempt. But whether you prepared here or how much time you have taken, all those things will not be considered. Ultimately, in the records, how many attempts are there? If you reach the interview in the first attempt, నువ్వు ఇక్కడ 5 ఏళ్ళు కూర్చొని చదివినావా లేదా వాళ్ళకి సంబంధం లే, in what attempt you have reached interview, that is very very important. If you reach interview in the first attempt itself, even if you commit some mistakes, they will consider. Why? Because they feel that in the first attempt itself you have reached an interview, that's why you are suitable candidate. In that manner they will think. They consider all these criteria. All these are based on my experience. You know, in 2010, I think, in 2010 or 11, there is one of my juniors, he is working in Andhra Pradesh government only, IAS officer. At the age of 22 years, he cleared the exam. He opted for public administration. In public administration, number of concepts are there. Out of those concepts, local administration, local governments. How many tiers are there? How many levels are there in the Panchayat Raj system? How many levels? Based on your experience, tell me. 3 levels: at the gram level, at the mandal level, at the district level. Even without preparation also, some people have awareness. And public administration. In public administration, that too optional. Being a public administrational student, he did not answer that question in the interview. When the interview board members asked how many tiers will be there in the Panchayat Raj system, he replied 2. They were shocked. Again they asked, are you sure? Then he realized his mistake, then he replied another number 3. But it was considered. And he got All India 17th rank or 25th, I forgot, 17th or 25th. Why? Because 2 of my juniors, they got these ranks. So one person 17th rank, one person 25th rank. Even though he committed such a blunder for public administration optional students, just telling how many levels will be there in the Panchayat Raj system, they are not able to tell, it is a blunder. That's why, but he reached interview in the first attempt itself. That's why it was considered, okay, because of tension, because of some other reasons, he committed mistake. But when we give a chance to him, he corrected that mistake. And in the first attempt, that too at the age of 22 years, he reached the interview. That's why he is a potential candidate. That's why they awarded very good marks. That's why these are based on experience. ఎక్కడ చెప్పరు, ఇంటర్వ్యూలో చెప్పరు, మా చుట్టూ జరిగిన ఇట్లాంటివి చూసి మేము కంక్లూజన్కి వస్తాం. అట్లా similarly here also many researchers, based on experience, they started formulating different theories. What are those theories? We are going to study in the 6th chapter, anthropological theories. See, one theory may be correct in one society, may not be correct in another society. It is not applicable universally to all the known societies, but based on their experience, they have explained certain theories, they understood, and based on that there was enlightenment. These are the 8 important chapters in the socio-cultural anthropology. First, introduction, after that marriage, family, kinship, economic anthropology, political anthropology, religious anthropology, anthropological theories, language, and research methods. In our classes, we will go in this sequence, but anthropological theories we will discuss at the end. Why? Because after discussing research methods, if I discuss theories, you can easily understand. And the next component is in the physical anthropology, we will study the basics, first we will study biological basis of life, after that we will study different theories on evolution, Biological basis of life means a cell. In your 10th class, cell, nucleus, chromosomes, all those things will be there. And after that, the different theories on evolution. In your school days, definitely you might have come across these theories: Lamarckism, natural selection theory of Charles Darwin, then mutation theory. All those theories we will study here. Actually, these 2 concepts are there in the first chapter itself, in the first chapter. After that, in the 9th chapter, so far we have discussed 8 chapters. In the 9th chapter, we will study genetics in detail. Genetics. What are chromosomes? What are genes? What is Mendelism? Mendel's laws of inheritance? And what are the different chromosomal aberrations? All those things we will study. Different concepts associated with genetics. And in the 10th chapter, we will study growth and development. Growth and development. What are the different stages of our life? and what are the changes that take place in each and every stage. Our life starts with a single cell stage by name zygote in the womb of our mother. From then onwards, number of changes take place in our body. What are those changes that take place? Especially after birth, at the time of adolescence, after reaching 10-12 years of age, certain changes take place because of which attraction towards the opposite sex will be increased and ability to produce children will be increased. That's why we study those changes. What are the different stages in the life of a human being and what changes that take place in the human beings. After reaching 45 years, nowadays in every family we can come across one diabetic patient, sugar patient. In almost every family we can come across. What are the different changes that take place in the old age, we will study. And after that we will study demographic physical anthropology. Demographic physical anthropology. Demographic physical anthropology means, to be precise, we will study about reproductive system. See, the population size will be influenced by birth rate and death rate. Death is inevitable, we will die at one point of time, but birth rate we are controlling it based on number of social, economic and political and religious factors. Now, what are the factors that are controlling the birth rate? Accordingly, fertility of a female. Fertility of a female means the ability of a female to produce children. Their economic status and the political ambitions, joint family systems, widowhood, different ways, some modern concepts, live-in relationship and other things. Because of all those things, how the fertility of a female is being changed, we will study here. Not only the fertility, we will also study the death rate, mortality. What are the factors that influence death rate? We will study in demographic physical anthropology. Here we will study reproductive biology. Apart from reproductive biology, we will study the factors influencing birth rate, death rate and fertility of a female. Finally, applied physical anthropology. Applied physical anthropology. The knowledge gained by us during the process of study of genetics, growth and development and demographic physical anthropology will be used to solve certain problems and to enhance the welfare of the human beings. See, I will tell you an example. If the UPSC introduces a new condition to write an exam with refill in the examination, will you accept? అందరు రీఫిల్ ఎగ్జామ్ అంటే ఒప్పుకుంటారా? రీఫిల్ పెద్ద చిన్నప్పటి అంటే పిల్లగాలు పట్టుకుంటారు, పెద్ద అయితే మన వల్ల కాదు, అవునా కాదా? వై? బికాస్ వీ హ్యావ్ పర్టికులర్ డైమెన్షన్స్ టు అవర్ ఫింగర్స్ అండ్ వీ హ్యావ్ పర్టికులర్ డైమెన్షన్ టు అవర్ హ్యాండ్. అకార్డింగ్లీ వీ మస్ట్ డెవలప్ డిఫరెంట్ స్టాండర్డ్స్. Even at the time of purchasing a pen also, after purchasing the pen, after selecting a particular pen, you will write whether it suits to your fingers or not. That's why whenever a manufacturer is producing a good, he has to consider human dimensions. Without considering human dimensions, if you produce one good, then people will not accept. Then there will be loss to the manufacturer. But if the same thing happens with respect to defense equipment, what happens? Their operability, their freedom, operability at the time of war will be affected, then the chances of defeat are very, very high. యుద్ధంలో ఎఫిషియెంట్గా ఫైట్ చేయాలంటే తొందరగా అలసిపోకూడదు అంటే కంఫర్ట్ ఉండాలి లోపల. in the pilot's cabin, in the cockpit, there must be good comfort. That's why by considering the human variations and the dimensions of different parts of our body, the cockpit has to be designed so that the fatigability can be avoided, so that their efficiency will be increased, so that the chance of success in the war will be affected, and accordingly our sovereignty can be protected. That's why designing of defense equipment is very, very important. How we are going to apply our knowledge in the designing of defense equipment. Similarly, the knowledge gained by us because of study of genetics will be used for the diagnosis of different diseases, for the treatment of different diseases, for the production of different varieties of vaccines which can prevent number of diseases. For the diagnosis, in the olden days, for diagnosing different diseases, we require 4 days of time, 5 days of time. Even in my childhood also, I remember very clearly, if you give the blood, we have to wait for 4 days or 5 days for normal blood test also. Nowadays we are getting within half an hour. How? Because of developments. This way, we are applying the knowledge of genetics for the rapid diagnosis, accurate diagnosis, for the treatment of different diseases, and for the development of vaccines. When we take vaccines, the development of diseases can be avoided. It means prevention. For the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of diseases, we are using the knowledge of genetics. Nowadays, you might have heard about recombinant DNA technology, more sophisticated technology. Because of recombinant DNA technology, we are producing safer vaccines. Because of those safer vaccines, side effects can be avoided, and at the same time, efficiency is more. Similarly, in the sports also, sports anthropology is there. In the sports also, we will select suitable persons. See, if you want to, in the police recruitment, they consider the dimensions of your feet. Flat foot is not, the people with flat foot are not eligible to police service. Why? Because generally our feet have arch like this at the bottom, arch like this. Whenever that arch is there, whenever we jump, that shock absorption will be there. Some people have flat foot like this. Whenever they have flat foot, shock absorption becomes difficult. That's why whenever they jump from one wall or from a particular place, that impact will be reaching the higher level, so that there will be fractures of the bones. Especially that gap you can see very clearly when you come out of bathroom. బాత్రూంలో పోయిన తర్వాత కాలు తడిచిపోయి ఉంటాయి కదా, బయటకు వచ్చిన తర్వాత మన కాలు ఇంప్రెషన్ మొత్తం పడదు, మధ్యలో గ్యాప్ ఉంటుంది. వై? బికాస్ వీ హ్యావ్ ఆర్చ్ లైక్ స్ట్రక్చర్ లైక్ దిస్. In the side view you can see our leg will be like this. Here one arch will be there. If that arch, most of the times will have arch. Some people they don't have arch. This arch acts as shock absorption. If this arch is not there, that impact reaches the leg, and here the bone will be broken. Now we are going to apply this knowledge, the selection of the suitable personnel to different services, even to different sports also. Like this, we are even in the medico legal cases also, DNA fingerprinting. ఈ రోజుల్లో ఏ గొడవ వచ్చినా కానీ DNA fingerprint. In the recent plane crash also, our government selected the dead body, identified the dead bodies based on DNA sampling. That's why here we are going to study, we are going to apply this knowledge. We are going to apply this knowledge to solve number of medico legal cases also. All those aspects will be there in the applied physical anthropology. This is about paper 1, socio-cultural anthropology and physical anthropology. In the second paper, we have two components, Indian society in general and tribal India. In the Indian society, we have, in the total second paper, we have 9 chapters. The first chapter, like that of first paper, here also introduction will be there. Evolution of man and evolution of culture in India. See, in almost all the optionals, first paper will be in general, second paper will be in the context of India. If you consider geography, physical geography and other general components will be in first paper. Second paper, Indian geography. Public administration, administrative theory in the first paper, Indian administration in the second paper. Like this, here also we will study in the Indian context. There we will study evolution of man and his culture in general at the world level, here at the Indian level. After that, we will study demographic profile of India. Demographic profile of India. At the time of starting of this session, I introduced myself. My name is Ravindra, Reddy, Anthropology faculty, doctor by profession, like this. When you want to study Indian society, you must know the profile of Indian population. That means in India, what is the population size? What is the population size? How it changed gradually over a period of time. At the time of independence, it was around 60 crores. Now it is almost 140 crores. How the population size was changed? What are the different stages in the growth of population? And at the same time, the quality of the population also was changed. Quality of the population means proportion of males and females, proportion of people working, how many people worked in the primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Primary sector means agriculture, secondary sector industry, tertiary sector means services sector. Over a period of time, how the composition was changed based on age, based on sex, based on occupation, like that we'll study. After that, in India, how many races are there? How many languages are there? Race means a group of population having a set of similar physical characteristics. With respect to a particular set of characters, there will be more similarities. We can easily identify these African people. They have one particular color, we can easily identify. West Indian people, one particular color, we can easily identify. కొంతమంది చూడంగానే మనం చెప్పేస్తుంటాం వీళ్ళు ముస్లిమ్స్, లేకపోతే వీళ్ళు నార్త్ ఈస్ట్, వీళ్ళు చైనీస్. హౌ? based on a particular set of characters. When a group of people with similarities in a particular set of characters, then all those people can be called as one race. Actually, into India, over a period of time, different people came to India and they settled in India. From Central Asia, from Europe, they came to India and then settled in India. That's why here, how many such races are there in India and how many languages are there, we are going to study. Very small chapter, demographic profile of India. Third chapter deals with traditional Indian society. Traditional Indian society. To be precise here, traditional Indian philosophy will study. Traditional Indian society means Hindu society. Once upon a time only Hinduism were there. In due course of time, Buddhism emerged, Jainism emerged, Islam entered into India, Christianity entered into India. That's why the traditional Indian society is nothing but Hindu society. What is the traditional Indian philosophy? What are the philosophical concepts in the traditional Indian society? Previously we have discussed Purushartha, Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha, then Runas, Daiva Runa, Pitru Runa, Guru Runa, Atidhi Runa, ivanni meeru daily life lo vine untaru. You will come across such concepts, and at the same time we will study about the concept of karma and rebirth. చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి మీరు వినే ఉండుంటారు karma, ఏదైనా if there are repeated failures in the exam, we feel that it's my karma. Karma means it is the result of our karma, means actually our action. It incorporates not only action but also the result of that action. Karma phala. Karma phala is also part and parcel of karma. That's why karma stands for action and the result of that action. Karma, na exam poindante karma ఏ జన్మలో ఏం పాపం చేశానో, that means there was one action, to that action there is one reaction. That is belief system. We are not supporting it, but we have to understand there are people who think in the similar manner even today also if you go to rural areas. Without knowing the belief system of the people, you cannot handle such people if you become the administrator. That's why you have to understand the traditional Indian philosophy. Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha, that means Purusharthas you know, Runas you must know, the concept of karma and rebirth you must know. And at the same time, in the traditional Indian society, there was one particular way of life. There were different stages in the life of a human being. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, like that. ఇప్పుడు కూడా మనం ఆ పదాలు వింటుంటాం కానీ వీఆర్ నాట్ ఫాలోయింగ్ దోస్ రూల్స్. పెళ్లి కాకముందు ఉండే స్టేజ్ మొత్తాన్ని కూడా ఏమంటాం బ్రహ్మచారి. పెళ్ళి అయిన తర్వాత గృహస్థ. కొన్ని రోజులు పుట్టి పిల్లలకు పెళ్ళిళ్ళు అయిపోయిన తర్వాత దగ్గర ఉన్న ఫారెస్ట్లోకి పోయి మెడిటేషన్ చేసుకుంటారు, వనప్రస్థ. అది అయిపోయిన తర్వాత గౌతమ బుద్ధులాగా జ్ఞానోదయం జరిగి ఏం లేదు జీవితంలో అంతా మట్టేనే వస్తారు. అది సన్యాస స్టేజ్. అంటే ఇన్ ది సన్యాస స్టేజ్ దే కీప్ ఆన్ మూవింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ వన్ ప్లేస్ టు అనదర్ ప్లేస్. During that wandering process, they educate the people that there is nothing in the life and the root cause for all the problems are nothing but sorrows. ఇవన్నీ హిందూ ఫిలాసఫీలో ఎప్పటి నుంచో ఉన్నాయి. తర్వాత దాన్ని హైలైట్ చేసింది ఎవరంటే గౌతమ బుద్ధుడు. అంతే. దెర్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ న్యూ ఇన్ బుద్ధిజం, బట్ The Buddhism puts certain concepts of Hinduism in practice very well. Okay, whatever it may be, we are not going into religious issues, we will discuss the present concept, Asian Indian society. Not only in Asian Indian society, but also in the present day Indian society, one factor, one concept is having tremendous influence on our life, that is nothing but caste. Caste and caste system and the related concepts. Even today also caste is playing an important role. At the time of elections we can come across very clearly. Even the educated people also, even those people who are preparing for civil services, who are having very well awareness regarding our constitution, regarding our laws, they don't bother about all those rules and regulations. Simply they support one political party because of their membership in a particular caste. That's it. See, here people may be belonging to different castes, but nowadays is it possible for you to get jobs without knowing English? Many people, they are not even, it is the case with me also. I faced some difficulty in the interview in 2009. After becoming teacher, the fluency was changed, but in the beginning my fluency was less. In multinational companies, if you do not know English, they won't give much preference. We will have more comfort in our mother tongue, am I correct or not? That's why many parents, they would like to give good education to the children in the English education, in the English medium, so that whenever we are speaking English fluently, our parents will be so happy, am I correct or not? Why? There are more growth prospects and globalized world is there. With respect to that aspect, when one CM, Jagan Mohan Reddy, introduced English medium in Andhra Pradesh, the people started criticizing. The Chandrababu Naidu and his followers started criticizing that they are killing Telugu Talli. But why they are not sending their children to the Telugu medium schools? Here we have to apply our knowledge. But here also many people, what they are doing, because of their membership in a particular caste, they are supporting Chandrababu Naidu. That's it. Caste, 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 caste. Even today also caste is influencing a lot. What is meant by caste and caste system, and what is meant by dominant caste, what is the influence of dominant caste, how it can influence the affairs of a particular village or elections, the result of election, we are going to study caste system, caste system. Is the caste system going to survive in the future or not? And other associated concepts, some other concepts are there, we are going to discuss all those things in the third chapter itself. And after that, fourth chapter is there, we will discuss, wait for some time. Fifth chapter, we will study social change, how in our society changes took place. Actually, in the Asian Indian societies, certain changes were brought about because of new religions, origin of Buddhism and Jainism, entry of Islam and Christianity. Actually, with respect to those religions, what is the impact we will study in the third chapter itself. And after that, in our history, after independence, there is one more developmental milestone, 1991. In that year, our economy was opened up, liberalization, globalization, privatization. Then what changes took place in our society? That's why we are going to study that social change, continuation, here in the fifth chapter, social change. As far as empowerment is concerned, one more year is there, 1992. Panchayat Raj system was constitutionalized. Even before that it was there, but constitutional status was given to Panchayat Raj system in the 1992. That's why, because of Panchayat Raj institutions, how social change was brought about. Because of media, what changes were brought about. And because of globalization, how many changes were brought about, especially in the villages, what changes were brought about, we are going to study in the fifth chapter. And because of the influence of Western countries, westernization, how changes were brought about. And because of modernization, what changes were brought about. Generally people feel that westernization, modernization are, if you consider only the etymological, that means meaning, if you consider the meaning of those terms, people may feel that different terms, but the subject content is same. Because of westernization, modernization, same thing happened. Westernization means the changes in our life because of contacts with West. Modernization means changes in our life because of science and technology. modern equipments, because of all this. Because of Western people, some technology was introduced in our society, that's why modernization happened. But entire modernization is not because of Western people. Nowadays metro is from Japan, not from Western countries. That's why because of Westernization, modernization happened in India, but entire modernization is not because of Westernization. We are going to study Westernization, modernization, all these things. That is 5th chapter. Actually this 4th chapter must be either in the beginning or at the end, but they have incorporated like that. They prepared syllabus haphazardly. In the 4th chapter, we are going to study growth of anthropology in India. ఈ మధ్యలో ఎందుకు పెట్టాలనిపించింది వాళ్ళు మనకు తెలియదు కానీ మధ్యలో పెట్టారు. వాళ్ళు కర్ణాటక సిలబస్లో అట్లా ఉండదు, వాళ్ళు పద్ధతిగా పెట్టారు. ఇది 5th చాప్టర్గా ఉంటుంది, కర్ణాటక స్టేట్ సర్వీసెస్. నౌ దేర్ ఆల్సో ఆప్షన్ వాజ్ రిమూవ్డ్. Growth of anthropology in India. And the contribution of different anthropologists to the growth of anthropology in India. After studying all these concepts, we will study who are the sociologists or who are the anthropologists who contributed for the understanding of this society. We will study growth of anthropology, then we can have easy understanding. On caste system, different theories were proposed. After discussing all those theories, if you study the growth of anthropology, you can easily understand. These are the 5 chapters with respect to Indian society. With respect to tribal India, 4 chapters are there, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Here the syllabus was organized highly haphazardly, but apart from that, in your exam, current affairs based questions will be asked from tribal India. All the remaining aspects are static. Evolution of man, it will not change. Theories, Lamarck, again he is not going to burn, he is not going to revise his theory. That's why all those things are not going to be changed. All are static only. Any changes వచ్చి అంత టెక్నాలజీ కనిపెట్టినా న్యూక్లియస్ లోపల 23 pairs of chromosomes ఉంటాయి. That's why all those are static. What is DNA, what is RNA, what is nucleus, what is mitochondria, what are mitochondria, all those things are static. And what are the different types of marriages, what are the different types of family systems, what are the political systems, how political systems came into existence, how different varieties of religions came into existence, what are the different religions, and how language came into existence. All those theories are not going to be changed. There is no relation with the current affairs. And physical anthropology, nothing. In our biology based on current affairs, nothing is going to be changed. That's why entire first paper is static. And even in the second paper also, traditional Indian society, ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ మనం పాస్ట్లోకి వెళ్ళి దాన్ని మార్చేదేం లేదు. The traditional Indian society is not going to be changed. That's why we are going to study all those things, static content. But in tribal India, every year the government, every year or every budget and in every term, the governments are announcing different policies, different programs, different laws for the sake of tribal people. That's why we can expect current affairs based questions in the tribal India. And apart from that, because of their haphazard organization syllabus, we are going to reorganize it. And that too, in order to answer those questions comprehensively, integrated, in order to have that integrated answer. Whenever they ask indirect questions from different concepts, we have to pick up the points and we have to stitch them and we have to make one beautiful answer. That's why here we have to follow one approach. Even in your general studies also you have to follow the same approach. In general studies all are related to current affairs. That's why here we are going to follow one special approach, problem oriented approach. Problem oriented approach. In the problem oriented approach, we are going to study what are the problems of tribals, what are the measures taken by the government, and what are the impacts because of those measures. That means social change, what are the changes brought about by those measures, and finally what we can do. Even in general studies also, if we come across one particular problem, say for example Ahmedabad plane crash, why that crash occurred That means what are the reasons and what are the problems of the aviation industry, we will study. What are the measures taken by the government already, that means what are the different laws, what are the different programs, what are the different regulations we are going to study, and what is the impact because of that crash, and the future, what is the impact on the aviation industry we are going to study, and what we can do in order to avoid such accidents again and again, what we can do, we will study. Government appointed one committee. You have to follow this approach even in your general studies. In general studies you will follow this approach only. In the tribal India also we have to follow the same approach. Why? Because current affairs based questions, dynamic questions are possible from this section. That's why if you study in this manner, you can answer any question in tribal India. That's why here what are the problems of the tribal people we will study. There are 9 problems, we will study all those 9 problems. Poverty and indebtedness, that means poverty and debts, unemployment and underemployment. Unemployment, I need not to explain what is meant by unemployment, jobless condition. And whenever we do not have a job, then for the sake of survival, even we are ready to work for lower remuneration, that is underemployment. After that, low literacy. After that, malnutrition. And finally, low health standards. These are the 6 basic problems. Apart from these problems, we will study impact of industrialization and urbanization. Because of industrialization, these industries, the government started promoting industries. They want raw materials for those industries. They can get raw materials and more land for the establishment of industries in the tribal areas. In the tribal people are living in the forest regions. More resources are available. Population density is very less. That's why they started acquiring land from the tribal areas. That's why because of establishment of industries, what are the changes that have occurred in those areas? Certain positive impacts are observed, certain negative impacts are observed. Whenever there is industrialization, automatically there will be urbanization. More and more flow of people will be there. In due course of time, it develops into urban centers. What are the impacts of industrialization and urbanization, we will study. And nowadays, our government has been following this differentiated strategy in order to bring about development in our society. Even though we are following the right to equality, government is not going to treat all the people equally. The government itself has been discriminating, but that can be called as positive discrimination. Why? Because for the welfare of weaker sections. Even though we have right to equality, for the sake of protection of weaker sections, government can discriminate. Government can reserve certain jobs for BCs, SCs, STs, women, like that. And at the same time, we are reserving seats in the education institutions also. That cannot be considered as discrimination. That can be called as positive discrimination for the sake of ensuring socialistic society, welfare society. Now, here, whenever in that differentiated strategy, we are differentiating the people into different groups. SC is one type of reservation, ST is another type of reservation. That means the percentage of reservation. For OBCs, another reservation. And schemes are also being changed. Now, here, out of all these OBC, SC, ST reservation is more advantageous. Why? Because competition is very less in that segment. That's why these non-tribal people, they want to get tribal status just by bribing the revenue officials or by changing their identity. That is called pseudo-tribalism. Pseudo means fake. They are false. They are not tribals, but they are claiming tribal identity. Why? In order to get ST status certificate. If they get ST status certificate, they can get job easily. That's why here the non-tribals are claiming ST status because of similarity in lifestyle, because of similarity in nomenclature. See, consider Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, here Reddys are considered as OCs. But there is one tribe by name Konda Reddy. Konda Reddys are STs. Now, because by citing similarity in the nomenclature, some Reddys are getting ST status certificate and they are getting very good jobs. These people are posing competition to the original beneficiaries. That's why they are not able to get the benefits which are intended for them. That is nothing but pseudo-tribalism. Now, it has become another problem. Because of pseudo-tribalism, the original people, they are not getting benefits, the pseudo people are getting benefits. All these are the problems. Poverty and indebtedness, unemployment, underemployment, malnutrition, then low health standards, low literacy. I forgot to tell you land alienation, land acquisition. The government is acquiring land, even private people also. And impact of industrialization, urbanization, pseudo-tribalism, all these are the problems. We are going to study all those problems. And measures. In the measures, we will study policy of the government. What are the policies of the government with respect to tribal development? What are the measures already mentioned in our constitution? What are the laws that are there for them, and what are the programs that are there for them? Apart from that, government is encouraging NGOs, non-governmental organizations, to render their services in the tribal areas. Why? Because tribal people, they are living in the forest, remote areas. Government mission is also not able to reach certain tribal areas. That's why government is promoting non-governmental organizations by giving certain incentives. Certain NGOs have been contributing significantly for the development of tribal people. We will discuss what are those NGOs at a later point of time. Here, those things we will study. We will study policies of the governments, constitutional measures, then legislative measures, laws, schemes or programs, and the NGOs. And we will study social change. What is the impact of these programs and what are the consequences? Even though government has taken number of positive welfare measures, still there is lot of discontent in the tribal people. Why? Because in certain areas, because of defective government strategies, tribal people, they, instead of getting benefits, they face a lot of disadvantages. The government at the time of establishing industries, they started telling that if you establish industries, you will get jobs. But they are not getting jobs. Tribal lands were acquired for the sake of establishment of industries, but those industries denied employment opportunities to the tribal people by citing lack of skills or lack of education as the reason. అక్కడ చదువుకున్నోళ్ళు లేరు కాబట్టి మేము ఏం ఉద్యోగం ఇస్తాం, ఇవ్వలేము. Ultimately, the fruits of development are reaching whom? Non-tribal people or those people who are already developed. Hydroelectric project. To construct hydroelectric project, the suitable places are those places, tribal areas, hilly areas where there is a gorge. రెండు కొండల మధ్య అయితే గ్యాప్ ఉంటుంది, అక్కడ ఒక బ్యారేజ్ లాగా కట్టేసాం, ఒక డ్యామ్ కట్టేసాం అంటే వాటర్ ఈజీగా స్టోర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. దట్స్ వై హియర్ ఇన్ దోస్ వెనెవర్ వీఆర్ కన్స్ట్రక్టింగ్ హైడ్రోఎలక్ట్రిక్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్, దెన్ ట్రైబల్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు బి అఫెక్టెడ్ ది మోస్ట్. But they are not getting electricity. You know, if you go to Jharkhand, actually this is one of the reasons for the origin of Jharkhand state. Jharkhand state is providing coal, which is the major source of power generation in India. Even today also 50% of the power is generated from coal, almost 50%. Jharkhand is the place where we can get good quality coal. But they are not getting electricity. You know, when they started Jharkhand movement, only 5% of the villages were electrified. Because of the coal obtained from Jharkhand region, entire country was getting electricity, but in that area they are not getting electricity. ఒకసారి నేను అక్కడ శ్రీశైలం వెళ్ళాం ఒకసారి, అయితే ఫ్రెండ్స్తో పాటు చిన్న టూర్ వెళ్ళాం. అక్కడ వెళ్తే టిఫిన్ చేయడానికి మార్నింగ్, అది చిన్న ఊరు కాబట్టి అక్కడ ఒక చిన్న షాప్ ఉంటే ఆ షాప్ దగ్గరికి పోయి ఒక చిన్న హోటల్ రోడ్ సైడ్ వాటర్ అడిగితే వాళ్ళు వాటర్ లేవు సార్ ఇక్కడ అన్నారు. వచ్చేసరికి టైం పడుతుంది సార్, కొంటే మామూలుగా హోటల్ వల్లే వాటర్ ఇస్తుంటారు, అక్కడ మినరల్ బాటిల్ కొనుక్కోవాలి. అక్కడ మినరల్ వాటర్ బాటిల్ లేవు, వాటర్ కూడా అందుబాటులో లేవు. ఏందమ్మా పక్కనే డ్యామ్ ఉంది, మీకు వాటర్ లేకపోవడం ఏంటంటే అది అంతే సార్, మా కర్మ సార్ అంతే. అంత పెద్ద రిజర్వాయర్ ఉంది, వాళ్ళకు వాటర్ లేవు. రిజర్వాయర్ ఉన్నది ప్యూరిఫై చేయాలి కదా, అవన్నీ. అయితే సమ్టైమ్స్ ఇట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ because of defective government policy or defective implementation, whatever may be the reason. At the time of starting the Jharkhand movement, only 5% of the villages were electrified. Entire Jharkhand region was tribal state once upon a time. Now states, cities came into existence. In the olden days, all the tribal people were there. Entire region was a tribal region. Now, and that's why a lot of discontent was developed in the tribal people. When the discontent was developed, then they started demanding the governments. Even after independence, even after 5 decades, 6 decades, 7 decades of independence, you fail to bring about development, you fail to bring about parity among all those people. That's why we will govern ourselves. ఇప్పుడు దాకా మీరు చేసిన చాలు, ఇంకా మమ్మల్ని మేము చేసుకుంటాం. The same type of feeling was developed here also. For the origin of Telangana, the same happened. when there was discrimination by some of the leaders, and because of their defective policies, Telangana people got less representation in the administration and Andhra people got more administration. That's why they want to have their own government so that discrimination can be avoided. That's why they want to eliminate Andhra people, and finally Telangana government, Telangana state was formed. Similar tendencies there also. When the government failed to bring about development, when government failed to solve their problems, then they started demanding autonomy. Why? Because governments failed. That's why they started demanding autonomy. They wanted to govern themselves. The demand for autonomy was manifested in the form of demand for separate state. Most of the times the demand for autonomy will be manifested in the form of demand for separate state. మమ్మల్ని మేము పరిపాలించుకుంటామంటే మాకు separate state ఇవ్వండి. Like that, number of statehood demands came into existence. Jharkhand state, Nagaland state, then Mizoram state, Chhattisgarh state. Like this, number of statehood movements came into existence and states were also formed. Whenever we carry out a movement on the basis of our belongingness to a particular region, that is called regionalistic demand. Similarly, we will have such type of affiliation, affection on the basis of our caste, on the basis of language, on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion. Whenever we have that we feeling or ownership attachment on the basis of region, that is called regionalism. Whenever we have that ownership attachment or affiliation on the basis of religion, that is called communalism. Whenever we have same type of feeling on the basis of language, that is called linguism. Whenever we have such type of feeling on the basis of caste, casteism. That's why all these can be called as ethnic conflicts. Ethnic conflicts. Ethnic conflicts based on region is called regionalism. Ethnic conflicts based on religion is called communalism. Ethnic conflicts based on language is called linguism. Ethnic conflicts based on caste is called casteism. Like this, here we are going to study statehood demands and religion based demands, which influence even our Indian political system also. You know, the Indira Gandhi was killed based on religious reasons only. Her Sikh bodyguards killed her. We will discuss that moment in detail in the classes when we start those regionalistic movements. And even Hindi, non-Hindi movement. Tamil and Hindi, non-Hindi means most of the times in the non-Hindi Tamil people, they would like to assert their ownership and their language dominance. They don't want to accept the domination of Hindi, because here in the name of promoting unity and integrity of India, Hindi people are getting some advantage, then definitely it is not fair. Say, for consider your exam, you have the option of writing your exam either in your mother tongue or in English, but in the prelims examination, do you have that option? No, you have to write either in English or in Hindi. That means Hindi people, Hindi speaking people are getting the option of writing their exam in their mother tongue. What about Telugu people? What about Kannada people? They want to write mains examination in their mother tongue, but what about prelims? If they pass in the prelims examination, then only they can write mains examination, but they are not getting the option of writing the prelims examination in the mother tongue. In the name of promoting Hindi as the official language, if they give prelims question paper in Hindi, the chances of clearing prelims examination is more for Hindi people when compared with non-Hindi people. That is true. నువ్వు హిందీని ఎందుకు ప్రమోట్ చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నావు? అందరి మధ్య ఐకమత్యం పెరుగుద్దని, యూనిటీ పెరుగుద్దని. ఆ రీజన్ చెప్పి ఎగ్జామ్లో హిందీ మాత్రం పెట్టావు, మిగిలిన వాళ్ళకి ఇవ్వలేదు. అట్లాంటప్పుడు ఏమైంది? హిందీ స్పీకింగ్ వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ మోర్ కంఫర్ట్ ఇన్ అవర్ మదర్ టంగ్. నేను ఏదైనా చెప్పేటప్పుడు మీకు సడన్గా తెలుగులో చెప్తే అది ఈజీగా గుర్తుంటుంది ఇంగ్లీష్లో చెప్పేదానికన్నా. చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి మీరు ఇక్కడ పెరిగారు కాబట్టి వీ హ్యావ్ దట్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్. మీకు ఒక చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తా. ఎథ్నోగ్రాఫిక్ రియలిజం. Do you know what is meant by ethnographic realism? No. I will explain the meaning of ethnographic realism. In a book or in a work, if the author narrates a particular incident in such a manner that if the reader gets a feel that the same incidents are taking place in front of them, then that is called ethnographic realism. ఎంత పెద్ద స్టోరీ చెప్పాల్సి వచ్చింది, కళ్ళకు కట్టినట్లు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయడం అంటే మీకు ఎంత బాగా అర్థమవుతుంది? సింపుల్. Am I correct or not? We have that comfort in our mother tongue. We can easily read and understand our mother tongue. Now, some people, they want to write exam in their mother tongue only, but they don't have the option of writing prelims examination in mother tongue. In such circumstances, who will get advantage? Hindi speaking people. Why? Because they are getting the option to write the prelims examination in the mother tongue. In the name of promoting unity and integrity, you are causing undue advantage to Hindi speaking people. That's why they are getting good representation in the administration. That's why they are having more influence. At one point of time, the demand for Dravida country came into existence. In future also it may come. Recently also same type of incidents happened, especially with regard to this delimitation. Because of delimitation, we will study, you will come across in due course of time. Even if I explain at this point of time, you may not understand. That's why a lot of discontent was there. Because of that discontent, definitely some people got employment, their health standards were improved, literacy levels were improved, and they got political representation also. Certain positive impacts were observed, but negative impacts were also observed. In those negative impacts, regionalistic demands and different varieties of ethnic conflicts came into existence. And finally, what we can do as an anthropology student or as an anthropologist, what we can do for the sake of development of tribals. The role of anthropology in bringing about tribal development and rural development will be studied in the last component. Our anthropology suggested different strategies for bringing the development of tribal people. What are those strategies? We will study. So questions will be asked by integrating different components. What are the problems faced by the tribal people, and to what extent the measures taken by the government are successful. ఆ క్వశ్చన్లో నీకు 3 కాంపోనెంట్స్ కవర్ అయిపోయి. ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఏంటి, టు వాట్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ ది మెజర్స్ టేకెన్ బై ది గవర్నమెంట్ ఆర్ సక్సెస్ఫుల్, టు వాట్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ సక్సెస్ఫుల్ అంటే అసలు ఏం తీసుకున్నారు, దాని ఇంపాక్ట్ ఏంటి. సమ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ విల్ బి ఆస్క్డ్ లైక్ దట్ ఓన్లీ. దట్స్ వై వీ హ్యావ్ టు స్టడీ ఇన్ దిస్ మేనర్. Even in your general studies also you have to follow the same approach. Even for general essay also you have to follow the same approach. If the general essay is with regard to social issues. This is about anthropology syllabus. Now you know the subject content. Now you have to decide whether this subject suits to your personality or not. Different types of marriages will be there, different types of economic systems, different types of political systems, different types of religions, and language and research methods, all those things will be there. And genetics will be there. In anthropology, number of advantages are there. Small sized subject, and good coaching is available, easy to understand, and questions, majority of the questions are direct questions, and current affairs questions are very less, and we can have ready-made answers, we can save a lot of time, all are advantage. But there is one disadvantage also. If you are in the beginning physical anthropology can make you one of the top rankers, and at the same time can destroy your future also if you do not study properly. Physical anthropology baga chadukunnaru anukondi, then you will get more marks. You know, in socio-cultural anthropology discuss different varieties of marriages in the tribal societies. That is a question. There are different varieties, but because of time limitations, because of allocation of less marks, 10 marks question kadigaru anukondi, you may not be in a position to write all varieties of marriages, that too in detail. Then you may or may not impress the examiner. Then depending upon their discussion, they award some marks. In the social aspects, the opinion based questions are there, descriptive questions are there, discussion of the examiner is going to play an important role. But in physical anthropology it is not so. If your answer is correct, they must give marks. What are the Mendel's laws? 3 Mendel's laws are there. If you write those Mendel's laws, he has to allot the marks. Adiki nachina nachakapoyina mark leyalsi. But with respect to remaining aspects, it is not so. That's why because of physical anthropology, you can cut short the dimension. You can avoid the discussion of the examiner. And that too, word limitation management. If your answer is correct based on scientific explanation, you need not to meet the word limitation criteria also. We have different types of questions. 10 marks questions will be there, 20 marks questions will be there. For 10 marks questions, you have to write answer in 100 to 150 words. For 15 marks, you have to write answer in 200 words. For 20 marks, you have to write answer in 250 to 300 words. Sometimes you will have more content, and your answer may cross those 300 words. Time will be killed. You may not channelize entire content also. But in physical anthropology, it is not so. If your answer is correct, even if it is for 20 marks, if you write your answer in 150 words, they have to allot the marks. But if you cannot understand the concept, you will not get marks based on sympathy also. రాసేళ్ళే ఒక మార్క్ వేద్దామని ఛాన్స్ కూడా ఉండదు, సున్నా అంతే. ఇన్ సోషియో కల్చరల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ సో. నీకు నచ్చింది ఏదో ఒక సోది రాసి వచ్చావు అనుకోండి, వాడు ఎంతో కొంత దయతరిచి ఒకటో రెండైనా వేస్తాడు. కానీ సైన్స్లో అట్లా ఉండదు అన్నట్టు. దిస్ ఈజ్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ as well as disadvantage. Majority of the people, they cleared the exam, they got very good marks because of this physical anthropology. And that too, revision is very very important, especially on the day before the exam. Exam ముందు రోజు మనం అంత బాగా చదవకపోతే షార్ట్ టర్మ్ మెమరీ, వీ హ్యావ్ మోర్ షార్ట్ టర్మ్ మెమరీ when compared with the long term memory. Am I correct or not? It's like mathematics, lot of logic will be there in physical anthropology. If you understand the concept, you need not revise. Linking will be there. That linking, if you can understand, you can write the content very well. That proper linking is very very important. If you start the classes of physical anthropology, then in the beginning all the classes are interlinked. Even if you miss one class, the next class it will be difficult for you to understand. That's why that's like one equation, all are having one link. If we can understand that link and equation, you can write answer very well, you can save lot of time in the examination, you can avoid the discussion of the examiner. But if you cannot understand that sequence, if you cannot understand that logic, then definitely you are not going to get good marks. And that too, revision is not required. And many people, in fact in our institute only, our institute is famous for mathematics also. One of my students, he wrote exam with mathematics as an optional. He had engineering background. He wrote one mains examination with mathematics optional, and he assumed that because of his engineering background he can clear exam with mathematics as an optional. Later he realized, and on the suggestion of many people, he opted for anthropology. When he approached me, he has lot of apprehension with regard to physical anthropology. Why? Because many engineers feel that physical anthropology, biology will be there, genetics will be there, with lot of apprehension. By the time of completion of coaching, he felt that, he only replied that, sir, rather than socio-cultural anthropology, this physical anthropology is more comfortable, lot of logic is there. In socio-cultural anthropology, psychology is going to play very very important role. Different types of marriages, our sexual behavior, our political behavior, psychology is very very important. That's why many people, they have that apprehension, but with the 10th class background, you can understand the physical anthropology. The only thing is, if you know basic knowledge of what is meant by cell, what is meant by nucleus, what is meant by chromosome. Of course, I will explain even that content also. First we will go to 10th class level, biological basis of life. After explaining that, we will go into deeper concepts. Okay. Physical anthropology is actually an advantage, especially for the engineers. Even for the doctors also it is advantageous, but people feel that overconfidence. The doctors, they feel that genetics they can easily understand, they can easily write. You know, people having more content, they face difficulty in writing answers because they have more content, but we have word limitation. That's the time will be wasted. But those people with engineering background or mathematics background or non-biology background, they have apprehension. That's why they read carefully, they write the same content. If they know that limitations, that will be useful. Many doctors, in 2015, a group of 8 students, they approached me to write test series. They went to Delhi, they came back, and in those 8 students, 7 people are doctors. 1 person BSc student. Finally, that BSc student cleared the exam. Why? Because that BSc student, because of that fear, he prepared ready-made answers for each and every topic. Limitations, he put limitations to his answers. But these doctors, because of their over knowledge, they started writing. You know, the paper evaluation will be done by whom? Anthropology professors. They are not doctors. If you write more content, then they cannot understand. In fact, it will become a disadvantage. There is one scientist also, I think C.V. Raman. C.V. Raman, ఆయన ఫిజిక్స్ సైంటిస్ట్ కదా, ఆయన ఒకసారి 8th క్లాస్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు ఆయనకి ఫిజిక్స్లో ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఎక్కువైపోయి ఆయన డిగ్రీ లెవెల్ స్టాండర్డ్ రాశాడంట. ఆ ఫిజిక్స్ టీచర్కి అర్థం కాక కొట్టేసి 0 మార్కులు వేసాడు. అదే ఆర్టికల్ యూరోప్లో ఉన్న ఒక సైంటిస్ట్ చూసి అతన్ని అప్రిషియేట్ చేశాడు. అట్లుంటుంది. హియర్ ఎగ్జామినర్స్ ఆర్ The anthropology professors or anthropology PhD holders. Professors పోద్ది వాళ్ళు మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళ కింద పనిచేసే PhD వాళ్ళకి ఇస్తుంటారు. That's why based on medical background, if these doctors write more content, that will be disadvantageous. They are not going to get marks. Apart from that, lot of time will be wasted. That's why don't feel that doctors are there, they are going to give a very tough competition. It's not so. We have fixed syllabus. If you acquire mastery over those topics, that is sufficient. Okay. This is about anthropology. And if you have doubts, you can ask me. ఏదైనా డౌట్ ఉంటే అడగచ్చు. ఓకే చెప్పు ఇంకా చెప్తా. డోంట్ థింక్ అబౌట్ యూనిక్నెస్. యూపీఎస్సీ ఈజ్ అన్ ఎగ్జామ్ ఆఫ్ యావరేజెస్. యూపీఎస్సీ ఈజ్ అన్ ఎగ్జామ్ ఆఫ్ యావరేజెస్. అన్నిట్లో మీకు యావరేజ్ మార్క్స్ వస్తే సెలెక్ట్ అవుతారు. ఒక దాంట్లో బెస్ట్ వచ్చి ఇంకో దాంట్లో పోయిందనుకోండి, యూ విల్ బీ ఎలిమినేటెడ్. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్. ఓకే. యూపీఎస్సీ ఇది నేను చెప్పిన మాట కాదు. ఒక అమ్మాయి ఉంది, అమ్మాయి పేరు సింహ అని వస్తుంది. ఒక 3-4 years 5 years బ్యాక్ ఐఏఎస్ వచ్చింది. ఆ అమ్మాయి కూడా అదే మాట చెప్పుంటుంది. యూట్యూబ్లో సెర్చ్ చేయండి. ఆ అమ్మాయి పేరు సంజనా సింహ. సంజనా సింహ అని 35 ర్యాంక్ ఎంతో వచ్చింది. ఆ అమ్మాయి సింపుల్గా చెప్పేసింది, యూపీఎస్సీ ఇస్ అన్ ఎగ్జామ్ ఆఫ్ యావరేజెస్. మీకు జనరల్ స్టడీస్ ఎంత రాసినా కూడా 100 మార్క్స్ వస్తాయి, అరౌండ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ 250 ఈచ్ పేపర్లో. ఒక దాంట్లో 150 వచ్చి ఒక దాంట్లో 50 వచ్చినా కూడా యూజ్ లేదు. యావరేజ్ అవ్వాలన్నట్టు. మనకి యావరేజ్ మార్క్స్ వస్తే చాలు. So you have to get average marks in all the topics, first thing. Second one is UPSC is a popular option in south, but not in the entire India. If you go to north, history is the popular option. That's why apart from that, we have scaling system. Based on the proportion of the students with a particular optional, the number of selections will be there. Let's say more the number of people, more the selections will be. రాసిన వాళ్ళు 10,000 మంది ఎగ్జామ్ రాశారనుకోండి, 50% మెంబర్ ఆంథ్రోపాలజీతో రాశారనుకోండి, సెలెక్ట్ చేసే వాళ్ళు కూడా 50% ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ ఉండాలి. అట్లా ఉంటుంది. అట్లా కాకుండా ఇప్పుడు మెడికల్ సైన్స్ తీసుకున్నాను అనుకోండి, ఇఫ్ యూ సెలెక్ట్ మెడికల్ సైన్స్ as an ఆప్షన్, రాసే వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది ఉంటారు? 1% ఉంటారు. అందరూ డాక్టర్లే, అందరూ ఇంటెలిజెన్సే, కానీ 1% మెంబర్నే సెలెక్ట్ చేశాను అనుకోండి, అందరికీ 95 మార్క్స్ వస్తాయి. 98 వచ్చినా కూడా రిజెక్ట్ అవుతాను. 99 ఒక సీటే ఉంది కాబట్టి. Understand? Because of that scaling option, no harm will be done. Apart from all these things, one more point earlier, all the students are not going to clear the prelims examination the same year. మీ క్లాస్ రూమ్లో మీరు అందరూ కూర్చొని రాసినా కూడా మీ క్లాస్ నుంచి 2, 3, 4 అవుతారు. All the students are not going to clear the preliminary examination. We have limitations. Why? Because if 1,000 posts are there, only 10,000 students will be selected. 10,000 students from all the parts of India. And apart from that, even though all the students are going to the same source, their way of preparation, their intelligence, their memory power are going to affect. Their handwriting is different, and the speed is different, and their performance in other subjects is different. A lot of factors will be there. That's why nothing will happen. When we were in your stage, we had the same problem. We also thought like that of you. Later we realized, ఎంతమంది కోచింగ్కి వచ్చినా కూడా దాంట్లో నుంచి క్లియర్ చేసేది తక్కువ మంది ఉంటారు. ఎందుకు? ప్రిలిమ్స్ దాటిపోవాలి కదా ముందు. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు క్రాస్ ది ప్రిలిమ్స్. చాలామంది ఇదే కాకుండా డిఫరెంట్ క్వశ్చన్ కూడా అడుగుతుంటారు, సార్ మీ సక్సెస్ రేట్ ఎంత సార్ అని చెప్పి. నా సక్సెస్ రేట్ ఎట్లా డిసైడ్ అవుతుంది? ముందు మీరు ప్రిలిమ్స్ దాటితే కదా డిసైడ్ అయ్యేది. I may be training 100 members here, but if you do not clear preliminary examination, only 5% students cross the prelims examination. Then based on that 5%, anthro students may be there, may not be there. Then how can we assess? That's why here all the people are not going to clear. Every year 5 lakh people are writing. Only 10,000 people are going to be allowed to write the examination. అక్కడ ఎంతమంది ఎలిమినేట్ అయిపోతారు? ప్రిలిమ్స్ అనేది ఒక స్ట్రాటజీ. దాంట్లో మీకు geography, history, environment, current affairs, all those things will be there. That's why that preparation is going to affect your success. That's why that doesn't matter. Okay. Unless UPSC decide to give the question papers in a rigid manner, tough manner. UPSC ఇంకా టఫ్ చేయాలి ఆప్షన్ డిసైడ్ అయితే తప్ప మామూలుగా ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ యూనివర్సిటీలో సర్వే అవుతుంది అంటే ది ఓన్లీ రీజన్ సివిల్ సర్వీసెస్. ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ సపరేట్గా తీసుకునే వాళ్ళు ఎవరు? మీరు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ పెరిగి ఉంటారు, ఇంతకుముందు ఎప్పుడు విన్నారా? కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు అంత ఈజీగా టఫ్ చేయరు. యూనివర్సిటీ ఇది లేదు. చాలామంది ఇక్కడ కోచింగ్కి వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ యూనివర్సిటీలో ఎంఏ చేయడమో లేకపోతే పిహెచ్డి చేయడమో చేసి అట్లా లేకపోతే ఆ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ అనేది ఎప్పుడూ ఎలిమినేట్ అయిపోయింది. దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్. Okay, that's why they won't give. Apart from that, physical anthropology, in the form of physical anthropology, already there is one dry topic. For professors who are not having medical background, anthropology professors who are not having medical background, for them this physical anthropology is a tough component. That's why they feel that already there is one tough component, and what is the need to make the question paper difficult more and more. అందుకని వాళ్ళు కూడా అంత రావణ ఏం చేయరు. They consider all the dimensions. చెప్పమ్మా. In all the optional subjects, scaling will be there. In all the optional subjects. I forgot to tell you actually, my coaching, I forgot to tell you. Actually, people join coaching for what purpose? Within a short span of time, we have to get maximum information. Even if you read on your own, Indian society you can easily understand. With the general studies background, you can easily understand tribal India. That's why even if you prepare on your own, you can acquire mastery over the syllabus. I acquired mastery over anthropology by my own preparation. But by the time I acquired mastery, my attempts were exhausted. Understood? That's why here, in order to get the essence or the purpose of the coaching is to get maximum information in the shortest possible time. మనంతర పని చదువుకుంటే సంవత్సరం పడుతుంది, 2 సంవత్సరాలు పడుతుంది. కోచింగ్ ఎందుకు వస్తాం? 4 నెలల్లో మొత్తం అయిపోతుంది. దట్స్ వై ఇట్ ఈస్ అవర్ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ టు గో త్రూ డిఫరెంట్ సోర్సెస్ టు గివ్ ఎసెన్స్ టు యూ. No one follows this principle, but in my classes I follow this principle. I feel that it is my responsibility to go through different sources. You know, I visit these bookshops regularly. I will go through what are the recent books, and if there is a new concept, I'll purchase that book and I will give it to you in the form of one Word document. I will only write the edited content, and after that we'll convert it into a digital form and we'll give it. Okay. Dictation, see, our material is different from other institutes' material. I have given my own material with which I got 356 marks. I converted that material into this digital form, and we are giving that material as notes to you. I want to save time. See, already I dictated notes the last before year. The same notes have to be dictated. It's nothing but a wastage of your time. That's why here we'll give that ready-made notes, which is nothing but my personal notes. Apart from that, the time saved by us by giving the printed material will be used in the preparation. మీకు రోజు డిక్టేట్ చేసుకుంటా పోతే, I'll tell you, if I only explain the classes, it takes 4 to 5 months time for me. If I dictate, it takes 1 year. But in other institutes, they are doing both, but they are completing the syllabus in 4 months. How is it possible? You can expect how much content that I have been giving. వాళ్ళు 4 నెలల్లో డిక్టేషను రోజుకు 2 గంటలు చెప్తారు. 2 గంటల్లో పాఠం చెప్పి డిక్టేషన్ చెప్తానంటే వాళ్ళు అంత సబ్జెక్ట్ చెప్తారో మీరు అర్థం చేసుకోండి. నేను ఓన్లీ సబ్జెక్ట్ చెప్తూ నేను ఏదైతే నోట్స్ ఇద్దామో అది నేనే తయారు చేసి టైప్ చేయించి మీకు ఇస్తాను. అయినా కూడా 4 to 5 months పడుతుంది. అంటే మేము ఎన్ని టాపిక్స్ కవర్ చేస్తాం, ఎన్ని డైమెన్షన్స్ కవర్ చేస్తాం మీరు అర్థం చేసుకోండి. అండ్ ఇన్ వన్ క్లాస్, say for example, in a class of 1 hour, generally for your easy understanding, in a class of 1 hour, first 45 minutes I will explain the concept, and after that I will explain slowly whatever the content that is there in the PPT. If you want to note down, you can note down. And after that, last 15 minutes we will discuss what are the probable questions and what should be the answer, what should be the structure of your answer. The time saved by us by avoiding dictation of notes will be used to discuss this trend. ఇప్పుడు జనరల్గా చాలామంది చెప్తూ ఉంటారు పెద్దోళ్ళు, పిల్లల్ని పెంచేటప్పుడు ఎట్లా చేయాలంటే వాడికి డబ్బులు ఇవ్వడం కన్నా డబ్బులు సంపాదించే కెపాసిటీ నేర్పించాలి. Here also, whenever it is required, we will dictate the notes. But most of the times, whatever I want to dictate, I will write it on white paper, will convert it into Word document and will give it to you. But the time saved by us, by avoiding dictation, will be used for the sake of preparation. Every day after the class, study hours will be there. After class, generally 2:30 to 5 class will be there, and half an hour break will give. After that, here only study hours will be there. Every day exam will be there. We are not going to conduct exam once in a week or once in 15 days, once in a month. Every day you have to read here, we will give ready-made material, and you have to read, you have to learn here itself, and you have to carry out writing practice also. The time saved by us by avoiding dictation will be used for writing practice. Okay.
So in material you are giving the introduction, no,
No, that thing will be there in the last 15 minutes session. In the last 15 minutes session, you have to note down. Okay, the structure, what are the probable questions, and what should be the structure for a particular answer. That content I will write on the board itself. You can write in the notes, because that is the essence. That is very, very important for success. See, if you give material, other institute students may copy, but that strategy they will not copy. That's why we are not giving it as material. We will ask you to note down in the notes itself. Okay, we will give ready-made material. Actually, with that material I got 356 marks, and after becoming faculty, I enriched that material. Actually, this is my 17th year of teaching. You may not feel that I'm old, but I started teaching when I was aspirant. From 2009 onwards, I was teaching. 16 years are already over. This is 17th year. And because of genetic makeup, I may appear to be young for some people, but there are many anthropology faculties in Ashoknagar Crossroads who are my students. Okay, I'll tell in R.C. Reddy there is one student, anthropology faculty, Sai Gautam. He is my test series student, and in law excellence, one classroom student, now he is faculty there. His name is Sudhir. And reflections IAS, Vivek, he is not my student but my junior, 6 years junior. So because of my genetic makeup, I appear to be very young, I feel, and some students also they gave that feedback, but it is not so. We will give in the form of 6 booklets. Indian Society 1 booklet, then Tribal India another booklet, and Socio-cultural Anthropology 1 booklet, Physical Anthropology 1 booklet, Evolution of Man and Evolution of Culture, that is separate another booklet, 5 booklet, Research Anthropological Theories and Research Methods another booklet. Total 6 booklets will be given. And we will create one Telegram group, and in that Telegram group we will post the current affairs also. Even after the completion of coaching, you can get the current affairs through that. And if you want notes, I will dictate, but don't expect me to complete the syllabus in 4 months or 5 months, then it will take 1 year. I can't cheat you by completing the syllabus as early as possible. It's not so. టైం తగ్గించేది ఏమి ఉండదు. ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉందంటే ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తాం. we concentrate more on the conceptual clarity and exam orientation. That is very, very important. Okay, and in the written material, here and there, some topics were not updated. Deliberately, we are giving that material as it is. Those updates will be given in the form of handouts. Why? Because simply other institutes are copying our materials. That's why some strategies. That's it. Wherever some outdated material is there I will dictate the notes. Okay. Wherever I feel that in the material that content is in complicated form, then I will dictate the notes. And in the classroom, see, For the holistic learning of anthropology, material is required. Classroom notes is very, very important. Classroom notes is very, very important. Whatever the content that is there in the material, that will be there in the form of simplified diagram. One flow chart, one diagram will be there, or key points. What are the points around which that answer has to be made? Like that, those points will be there. Those points you have to note down. మొత్తం పాయింట్లు నేను నీట్గా చెప్తున్నాను అనుకో, మీరు పాయింట్ మొత్తం రాసుకోవాలంటే టైం పడుతుంది. వాట్ ఈస్ ది కీ పాయింట్? ఐ విల్ రైట్ ఆల్ ది పాయింట్స్ హియర్. ఓకే, విల్ గివ్ ది పీపీటీస్ ఆల్సో ఇన్ ది ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ పీడిఎఫ్స్, డోంట్ వరీ. ఓకే, బట్ ఐ సజెస్ట్ యూ టు నోట్ డౌన్. వై? బికాస్ యువర్ ఓన్ హ్యాండ్ రైటింగ్, యువర్ ఐస్ కెన్ రిమెంబర్ దెమ్ సో ఈజీలీ. మనం కళ్ళు మూసుకున్న ఎగ్జామినేషన్లో మన అక్షరాలు గుర్తొస్తాయి. కాబట్టి మన హ్యాండ్ రైటింగ్లోనే ఉండాలి మన నోట్స్. ఓకే, యాక్చువల్లీ ఇఫ్ వీ PPTs play very, very important role. After that, even in the PPTs also, these questions and structuring of answers will not be there. Those things I will explain on the board. Okay, class notes is important, PPTs are important, and material all are important. Okay, ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్లు ఉంటే చెప్పండి. Syllabus will be completed in 4 to 5 months. Actually, I'll tell you. Actually, if you ask in the reception, they will give, this is the syllabus of anthropology. Actually, micro schedule they will give. If you ask them, they will give in what class what topic is going to be discussed. Micro schedule will also be given, and for discussing paper 1, we require nearly 45 classes, around 44 classes tentatively. And for paper 2 is nothing but general studies. Syllabus is also very less. Quantity wise, 2/3 of the syllabus is from paper 1, and paper 2 1/3 of the syllabus, but weightage equal weightage. And here it will be completed in 32 classes. Total around 86. 86 means around 100 classes. Saturday, Sunday holidays will be there, and public holidays. If you consider all those things, it will take 4 to 5 months of time. Okay. And this, from this year onwards, I am planning differently. Every year I used to teach one component after another, but from this year onwards we want to teach both the papers simultaneously. First 1 hour 15 minutes first paper, and 1 hour 15 minutes second paper. Like that we will discuss both, so that you will get a good understanding. Why? Because previously we used to start with the second paper. In the second paper, even though syllabus is there in the form of numbering of chapters, we'll start with the third chapter. Why? Because in the third chapter we'll start with the traditional Indian philosophy. That means when our human societies were formed, from the beginning if you discuss in the sequence, you can understand. మీకు హిస్టరీలో కూడా ఏన్షియంట్ ఇండియా, మెడివల్ ఇండియా, మోడర్న్ ఇండియా ఉంటాయి. ఫస్ట్ మోడర్న్ ఇండియా చెప్పి తర్వాత ఏన్షియంట్ చెప్తే బాగోదు కదా, అవునా కదా? That's why in order to have that linking and understanding, we'll start with the traditional Indian society. And some concepts may be true, may not be true. But certain concepts were introduced by our elders for the sake of certain purposes. Say for example, in the traditional Indian philosophy, karma and rebirth, the concept of soul will be there, rebirth will be there. మనం చచ్చిపోయిన తర్వాత మన ఆత్మ ఉంటుంది, ఆ ఆత్మ ఇంకొక బాడీలోకి ఎంటర్ అవుద్దని చెప్తే మోడర్న్ జనరేషన్ వీళ్ళకి ఏం చేస్తారు, సార్ ఈ రోజుల్లో ఆత్మ లేదు సార్, అది సార్ ఇస్తారని తిడతారు కూడా, అవునా? సరే, దానికి వస్తే పక్కన పెట్టండి. చిన్నప్పుడు మనము అన్నం తింటలేదు అనుకో, అమ్మ ఏం చేస్తుంది, అదిగో చందమామ అని చెప్తుంది, తినకపోతే బూచెడు వచ్చి తీసుకుపోతుంది. నిజంగా బూచెడికి ఇస్తుంది అమ్మ? లేదు. ఆ భయంతో వాడు అన్నం తింటాడని ఒక మంచి ఉద్దేశంతో ఒక అబద్ధం చెప్తాం. అట్లాగే in the traditional Indian philosophy, certain concepts were introduced in order to create one fear of supernatural punishment. As long as that fear of supernatural punishment is there, so long our behavior will be normal. ఇక్కడ సీసీ కెమెరాస్ పెట్టినా 24 గంటలు మీరు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు అక్కడ ఎవరు చూడరు, మానిటర్ ముందు కూర్చొని. కానీ సీసీ కెమెరా ఉంది భయం ఉంటుంది, కాబట్టి మన బిహేవియర్ ఎట్లాగా ఉంటుంది. అట్లాగంటే ప్రతి ఒక్కరిని ఒక పోలీసు వాడితో కంట్రోల్ చేయాలంటే 5 కోట్ల మంది అంటే 5 కోట్ల మంది పోలీసులు కావాలా, అది కుదురుతుందా? దట్స్ వై ఆల్వేస్ our behavior will be controlled most of the times. 80% of our behavior will be controlled from within perspective. Our mind always says this is correct, this is wrong. Say for example, అక్కడ ఒక అమ్మాయి పోతుంది, ముద్దు పెట్టడానికి కోరిక కానీ అనిపించవచ్చు, అందంగా ఉంటే ఎవరికైనా అనిపించవచ్చు, హీరోయిన్ కూడా కావచ్చు. ఎవరు లేనప్పుడు ఏదైతే మీ బాడీ నుంచి బయటకు వస్తుందో అదే మీ యువర్ రియల్ బిహేవియర్. వెన్ ఎవర్ యు ఆర్ దేర్ ఇన్ యువర్ రూమ్ సోలో, then in such circumstances your real behavior comes out. రూమ్లో ఎవరు లేనప్పుడు బయటకు వచ్చే బిహేవియరే మీ రియల్ పర్సనాలిటీ, అవునా కాదా? కానీ రోడ్డు మీద పోతుంది అనుకో, రూమ్లో అయితే ఒక హీరోయిన్ బొమ్మకు ముద్దు పెట్టుకుంటే ఇంకేమన్నా చేసుకో, అదేం కాదు. కానీ రోడ్డు మీద పోతుంటే చేస్తారా? మీరు చేస్తారా? చెయ్యరు. ఎందుకు? అరే తప్పు, దిస్ ఈజ్ అగెనెస్ట్ ది నార్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ అవర్ సొసైటీ. చేసామంటే అందరు తంతారు, దిస్ ఈజ్ రాంగ్, దిస్ ఈజ్ రాంగ్, దిస్ ఈజ్ రాంగ్ అని మైండ్ ఎప్పుడు చెప్తా ఉంటుంది, అవునా కాదా? డెఫినెట్లీ. ఇప్పుడు నేనున్నాను, ఎవరైనా కానీ ఇప్పుడు నేనున్నా కూడా ఈ సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక స్టూడెంట్ ఉన్నాడు, ఒక డెమోకి వచ్చి వేరే ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ నుంచి వచ్చి కావాలని ఇబ్బంది పెట్టని కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతున్నాను అనుకో, కోపం వచ్చిందనుకో, బయట రోడ్డు మీద ఎవరైనా కోపం వస్తే అన్పార్లమెంటరీ వర్డ్స్ వాడచ్చు, దొంగ నేరైనా వాడచ్చు, నా కొడుకైనా వాడచ్చు, ఏదైనా వాడచ్చు. బట్ క్లాస్లో వాడతామా? నో, ఐ హ్యావ్ టు ఆన్సర్ ఇన్ ఏ ప్రొఫెషనల్ వే. ఎందుకు? ఈ పొజిషన్లో ఉన్నా కాబట్టి ఏ ఫ్యాకల్టీ హ్యాస్ టు బిహేవ్ ఇన్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ మేనర్ అని చెప్పి లోపల నుంచి నా మైండ్ చెప్తూ ఉంటుంది అన్నట్టు, యూ హ్యావ్ టు బిహేవ్ విత్ స్టూడెంట్ ఇన్ దిస్ మేనర్ అని చెప్పి. లైక్ దిస్ ఆల్వేస్ అవర్ బిహేవియర్ విల్ బి కంట్రోల్డ్ ఫ్రమ్ విత్ ఇన్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్. That behavior from within perspective control is because of our socialization. During the process of socialization, our society, from the society we will learn what are the norms and customs of the society, what are the positive behaviors, what are the negative behaviors. Always those things will be there in our mind. That type of control will be there. Now, ఏం అడిగారు మీరు అసలు? ఎందుకు చెప్తున్నది? ఏదో అడిగారు. Yes, correct. Then those concepts were introduced by our ancestors ultimately to control our behavior. Now when I started teaching these concepts, some of the students who have completed engineering, they started asking, what is this concept, sir? This is highly irrational concept. Then is there any necessity for us to learn these topics or to learn this content? Then I answered, you may be an intelligent person, you may be an enlightened person, but you are going to deal with the society. You must know the belief system of the people. Without knowing the belief system of the people, if you want to deal with them, then people will react violently. Whether it consider one temple, even though it is an illegal construction, if it is there in the middle of the road, if the government wants to demolish, people will react violently. Am I correct or not? రోడ్డు మధ్యలో టెంపుల్ ఉందంటే దాన్ని పడగొట్టాలంటే ఎంతమంది పోలీస్ ఫోర్స్ వస్తారు తెలుసా? ఏం గొడవలు జరుగుతాయి, లాండ్ ఆర్డర్ డిస్టర్బెన్సెస్ వస్తాయి అని చెప్పేసి. దట్స్ వై వీ హ్యావ్ టు లెర్న్. దట్స్ వై in the previous batches we used to teach in this chronological manner. In the traditional Indian society, what were the belief systems, in due course of time what happened, in the chronological manner. That's why some people they developed that. Entire anthropology will be like that. They developed that perception. And finally, they did not take anthropology as an optional. Unnecessary assumptions will be created. That is just a half an hour session, 2-hour session. Only because of that perception, they developed a feeling that in anthropology, a lot of irrationality will be there. That's why to avoid such type of perceptions, from this year onwards, we are planning to teach both simultaneously. That is the only reason. And if you want dictation, I will dictate. It will give rest also to my legs. But let us see. Based on your feedback, we will change. Don't worry. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Most probably, we will intimate you. You have given your numbers, I think. You have mentioned your phone numbers. We will give you intimation when the classes will be commenced. Actually, in the advertisements they mentioned July 1st. But let us see. Very now less number of students are there. We may organize another demo, and maybe from 7th or 8th we'll start full-fledged course. Okay. ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా? In the classes we'll use both the languages. That means English as well as Telugu. Why? Because one of the motives of my classes is learn the subject with fun. You should not feel bored. క్లాస్లో సరదాగా జోక్స్ వేసుకుంటూ, యాక్చువల్లీ ఐఎమ్ ఏ డాక్టర్ బై ప్రొఫెషన్, ఐ కెన్ గెట్ మోర్ మనీ ఇన్ మై మెడికల్ ప్రొఫెషన్, బట్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ప్యాషన్, అవుట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఫన్, I remained in this profession only. Anthropology we are going to study, entire anthropology deals with societies, entire society deals with only two concepts, money and female, that's it, money and sex. అంతే. ఎవడైనా కానీ ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ కానీ ఎవరైనా బయటికి 100 నీతులు చెప్పచ్చు, కానీ కరప్షన్ ఎవ్రీవేర్. మెనీ ఎమ్మెల్యేస్ వర్ కాట్ ఇన్ సెక్స్ స్కాండల్స్ ఆల్సో. ఈ రెండే మనిషిని డిసైడ్ చేసేది, ఈ రెండే బేసిక్ డిజైర్స్, హంగర్ ఫర్ ఫుడ్ అండ్ హంగర్ ఫర్ సెక్స్. ఫుడ్ మీన్స్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు గెట్ ఫుడ్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు ఎర్న్ మనీ, అండ్ వన్ మోర్ డైమెన్షన్ ఇస్ పవర్, దట్స్ ఇట్. అందుకని మనం ఏది మాట్లాడుకున్నా వాటి చుట్టే తిరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి అన్ని సొసైటీలో జరుగుతున్న వాటి గురించి. సో అవి చెప్పుకుంటూ సరదాగా వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. మనం లోకల్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ కొన్ని చెప్పుకుంటాము, అవి నేను తెలుగులో చెప్తేనే మీకు బాగా కనెక్ట్ అవుతాయి. Until 2022 I used to teach only in English, but from 2022 onwards, based on the request of some students, we started Telugu. Now we have become more comfortable in Telugu. 2022లో ఒక అబ్బాయి తెలుగు మీడియం స్టూడెంట్ ఉన్నాడు అనలాగ్లోనే. ఆడు ఏం చెప్పినా గాల్లో ఇట్లా చూసేవాడు. ఫస్ట్ ఇంగ్లీష్ చెప్తా, తర్వాత తెలుగు చెప్తా, మళ్ళీ ఇంగ్లీష్లో చెప్తా. అంటే ఫస్ట్ తెలియదు ఇంగ్లీష్ కాబట్టి తెలుగు చెప్తా, తెలుగు చెప్పి అర్థమైన తర్వాత ఇంగ్లీష్ చెప్తే కొన్ని పదాలు వాడికి అర్థమయ్యాయి అన్నట్టు. ఎందుకు మెటీరియల్ అంతా ఇంగ్లీష్లో ఉంటుంది. ఆ సంవత్సరం నేను చాలా ఇబ్బంది ఫేస్ చేశాను. చెప్పంగా నాకు అలవాటు అయిపోయింది. బట్ ఫన్ కూడా బాగుంటుంది. తెలుగులో చెప్పుకునేది వేరు ఉంటుంది, ఇంగ్లీష్లో చెప్పుకునేది వేరు ఉంటుంది. కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్పేటప్పుడు కొన్ని ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు కొద్దిగా తెలుగులో చెప్తాను, జోక్స్ కానీ కొన్ని ఉంటాయి. అట్లా అమ్మాయిలు లేరు కాబట్టి ఇంకా ప్రాబ్లమే లేదు. ఓకే, నంబర్ ఆఫ్ జోక్స్ విల్ బి దేర్, లాట్ ఆఫ్ ఫన్ విల్ బి దేర్. లాస్ట్ రోజు వరకు నవ్వుతూనే ఉంటారు. ఓకే, దట్స్ వై విల్ టీచ్ ఇన్ బోత్ ది లాంగ్వేజ్, తెలుగు యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ ఇంగ్లీష్. ఓకే, మీ సీనియర్స్ ఎవరైనా ఉంటే, ఇదే ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ సీనియర్స్ ఎవరైనా ఉంటే అడగండి, చెప్తారు ఆంథ్రోపాలజీ క్లాస్లో జోక్స్ ఎట్లుంటాయని. అంటే ఇట్స్ నాట్ అబౌట్ జోక్స్. Whenever we crack some jokes, that point will be remembered very strongly in your mind. ఏదన్నా ఒక జోక్ తీసుకొని చెప్పామంటే మాత్రం అది భయంకరంగా గుర్తుండిపోతుంది. లివ్ ఇన్ రిలేషన్షిప్ మీద క్వశ్చన్ వస్తుంది, మ్యారేజ్ మీద కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటాయి. సో దాని గురించి చెప్పుకుంటున్నప్పుడు కొన్ని ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ చెప్పినా మీకు బాగా గుర్తుంటాయి. అంతే విషయం. ఇప్పుడు తమిళియన్స్ ఉన్నారనుకోండి, తమిళియన్స్ బిలాంగ్ టు నిగ్రిటో రేసెస్ అని మనకు ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంది. ఒక తమిళ కమిడియన్ తీసుకొని ఆయన ఫోటో వేసి చెప్పామనుకోండి, మీకు క్లియర్గా అర్థమవుతుంది. లేకపోతే తెలుగులో జోక్స్ ఉంటాయి, హస్బెండ్ అండ్ వైఫ్ మీద జోక్స్ ఉంటాయి. సో ఆ రిలేషన్స్, ఫ్యామిలీ వాటి మీద కొన్ని జోక్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు అవి చెప్పినప్పుడు మీకు క్లియర్గా అర్థమవుతాయి అన్నట్టు. నిన్న ఒక జోక్ చూసా, ఒక వీడియో షార్ట్. ఒక ఫిమేల్ ప్రెగ్నెంట్ అవుతుంది. ప్రెగ్నెంట్ అయితే డాక్టర్ వస్తుంది, డాక్టర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది అనేది వీడియో చిన్న షార్ట్. దాంట్లో మొత్తం అక్కడ ప్రెగ్నెంట్ అమ్మాయి, తర్వాత ఇంకొక అమ్మాయి, ఇంకిద్దరు మేల్స్ ఉంటారు. అయితే ఇంతమంది ఉన్నారు ఎందుకు అంటే, స్పర్మ్ ఇచ్చింది నేను అని ఒకడు అంటాడు. ఆ తర్వాత ప్రెగ్నెంట్ నేను అని ఆ బెడ్ మీద ఉన్న అమ్మాయి అంటే, కానీ ఆ బిడ్డకు కాబోయే తల్లిని నేను అంటే రెంటెడ్ ఊంబ్. రెంటెడ్ ఊంబ్ అంటే ఏంటి? సరగేసి. ఓకే, ఇంకొక మేలుండి వాడేమంటాడు, రెంటెడ్ ఊంబే కదా ఈ అమ్మాయి ప్రెగ్నెంట్ కానీ సరగేసి, కానీ ఆ అమ్మాయి లవర్ నేను అని ఇంకొకటి చెప్తాడు. మొత్తం అక్కడ ఇద్దరు మేల్స్ ఇద్దరు ఫీమేల్స్ వస్తారు. సరగసి కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్పేటప్పుడు అటువంటి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకొని చెప్పామంటే మీకు కొద్దిగా ఫన్గా ఏదో సరదాగా గడిచిపోతుంది అంతే. ఓకేనా? ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే అడగండి. అందరు ఎనలాగ వాళ్ళైనా బయట వాళ్ళు ఎవరు ఉన్నారా? అందరు ఎనలాగేనా? బయట వాళ్ళు కొంతమంది జాయిన్ అవుతారు, నారాయణ IAS స్టూడెంట్స్ కానీ కొంతమంది వస్తారు. సో డోంట్ వరీ అబౌట్ ది స్ట్రెంగ్త్. ఓకే, హ్యావ్ ఎ నైస్ డే.